Good afternoon. I'd like to call the session the December 14, 2017 special meeting of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District to order at 1 p.m. Ms. Marcotte, if you can do the roll, please. I'll vote for him.
Whoever gave me this one, it don't work.
Let the record reflect that 8 council members are present. Mr. Roussel is absent.
This one here ain't working either.
Who voted for Bo?
No.
Somebody's voting for me now. If you stand by, we're just getting a couple technical difficulties sorted out.
Okay, I got it.
I got Irvin? I got John.
No,
I got yours. This one's yours.
I got this one.
Oh, it's not by district? Oh, you're number one.
I'm not number one.
Okay.
I voted for somebody.
I said Kirk Lapine.
If that's not mine.
This is number two. They are by district. Okay.
You going to admit you screwed up?
Yep.
All right, good.
All right, if you please stand. Councilmember Juneau, lead us in a prayer, followed by the pledge by Mr. Burt.
We take this moment to acknowledge God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for the parish's natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom. Excuse me. We pray for our world leaders to know how to obtain world peace. We pray that this government, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honest humility and equality to all. And as this government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do that which is right. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. We move to item 2, executive session. We have none. We were going to have one in reference to the legit discussion we had at the last council meeting. I think General Sanders sent the email out to everyone stating why we're not going to do it this week. All right, we'll move to bids and advertisements. We have none. That's item 4. Item 3, status report by Executive Port Director. Director Sanders, Paul.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, and members of the board. I am Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port, Harbor, and Terminal District. Follows is my Executive Director's report for the reporting period of 10 November to 13 December. During this time frame, I was part of a delegation that visited the Dallas International Inland Port. The inland port serves the greater Dallas-Fort Worth metropolis and is the 3rd largest sector in the United States. Presently, the DFW is serviced logistically by ports on the West Coast. We presented to members of the City Council how the PPHTD could drastically cut their logistics costs by arranging a dedicated rail corridor from the port to their location. They were very enthused, and discussions are ongoing to be continued in January. We have met once again with several investors who are very interested in becoming part of the Port Vision, and these discussions, all of which are covered by non-disclosure agreements, are continuing as they refine their investment participation. Also during this time frame, the staff submitted the FY18 PPHTD budget, which will be voted upon in today's meeting. The Executive Director and the Chairman of the Port of Memphis visited us this past week. The Port signed an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, with the Inland River Port of Memphis. This is a very critical step towards developing a network of sister ports throughout the port's consumption zone, which will encompass the entire Mississippi River Basin. We will sign a similar memorandum of understanding in January with the Port of Jefferson, which will serve the greater St. Louis area. In January or early February, we will also sign a memorandum of understanding with the Port of Kansas City. Sal Latrico with the American Patriot Holdings and I were invited to make a presentation to the Board of Directors at their annual Soy Association and the Soy Coalition Transportation. This is made up of the 13 states that harvest the main part of the soy crop for the United States. Also in this meeting, they approved to perform studies, the Illinois Soy and the entire coalition, to fund studies that will benefit the benefits of the APH vessel on the Mississippi River as it relates to Mississippi River transportation. Lastly, I would like to commend Bo Black, our chairman, and the port leadership for the last 2 years as his acting as chairman. We look forward to Mr. Charlie Burt's incoming chairmanship and the support that the entire board has provided us this entire year. I'd like to wish from me and my staff to the port board and to all the folks in here a very merry and safe Christmas. This concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I do want to add one thing. I want to thank Paul Matthews for hosting. Councilmember Charlie Burt and I at a function last Friday night. I was able to have, and so was Charlie, some good conversation with the chairman of the Port of Memphis, Johnny Moore, as well as his executive director, where we signed the MOU. And like you mentioned, we have a few MOUs yet to come. I mean, this is great news for Plaquemines. It's something that I think they were very impressed to see the operation we have here. And I know you guys have been to Memphis and St. Louis and stuff quite a bit. So I know you were tied up with the weather, Sandy. So Paul filled in your shoes and did a phenomenal job hosting that event. So thanks a lot, Paul, for that, and thanks, Sandy, for organizing it. I don't have anything else at this time. I'll open it up to the table for any questions or comments. With none, I'll open it to the floor for any questions or comments for the Executive Director. All right, with none, we'll move to introductions of ordinance and resolutions. I have none.
I have none.
Mr. Burt?
Yes, I have one. This one. A resolution authorizing Mayor Maynard J. Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to extend the current agreement for professional services to Dwyer, Cambry, and Suffren for the provision of legal counsel and otherwise to provide respect thereto. That is all.
Ms. Salvant? Ms. Edgecombe? Ms. Williams? All right, move to item 6A. We have none. 6B, Ms. Marcotte?
An ordinance to fund classified positions for the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District approved by the Civil Service Commission on August 3, 2017, reallocating several classifications and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. I first want to thank our Council Chairman, Mr. Bartholomew, for pointing this out about 8 months back or so. I think you can elaborate a little bit more as well. But when we redid the Executive Director's contract, Mr. Bartholomew said, I think we need to take a look at all the port employees across the board. And you guys ran a study, had a group come in and do a complete study, and came up with a pretty good analysis. And you guys have worked extensively with civil service and made some determinations on grade changes, pay raises, et cetera. And I want to thank also the council for finding those funds in 2018 budget to go ahead and make this happen. So we have a couple ordinances on here. After we finish with B, I'll skip to the next one, which I think is, I'll figure it out, but we'll find it. But, this is a good collaborative effort between the council, the port, civil service, and everyone else involved, and I think it's going to pay dividends to our port employees from the bottom up. So Thank you, Councilman Bartholomew, and thank you guys for the hard work. I'll open this up to any questions or comments or concerns. Any questions from the audience? All right, we'll move to B. Yeah, we'll move to vote, yeah. So we're moving to vote, I'm sorry. And it passes 9-0. The next one is, I'm sorry, 8-0. Mr. Roussel is absent. Move to G, Ms. Marcotte. This is another one that's,
An ordinance to fund classified positions for the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District pursuant to the amended Civil Service Pay Plan and Classification Schedule adopted by the Civil Service Commission on August 3, 2017, reallocating several classifications and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. Ask for a second. Mr. Lapine seconds. Pretty much the same thing. This is for the other group. It's split up in two different groups. It's split up between the office personnel and then the boat staff. So this is the second. Any questions or comments from the table, from the audience? All right, with none, machine's open for a vote. It passes 8-0. Mr. Roussel is absent. I think that was the last one on the civil service stuff. Christie? That was it, too? All right, let's move to item C, please.
6C, an ordinance to amend the 2017 five-year capital improvements budget of the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District for the B3 relocation project and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer as read. Second one, Mr. Burt. Any questions or comments from the table? From the audience? All right, with none, we'll open for a vote.
Mr. Bartholomew?
That is 9-0. I'm sorry, 8-0. Can't see. You better, yeah.
6D,
6D.
an ordinance adopting the original operating budget of revenues and expenditures for the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2018, and ending December 31st, 2018, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer as read. Second one, Ms. Williams. Any questions or comments from the table? From the audience? With none, we open for a vote. Passes 8-0. Mr. Russo's out. Yeah, thank you.
6E, an ordinance adopting the original capital improvement budget for the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District for the five-year period beginning January 1st, 2018, and ending December 31st, 2022, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer as read. Second one, Ms. Williams. Questions, comments from the table? From the audience? With none, we open for a vote. Passes 8-0. Mr. Russo's absent. F, please.
6F, an ordinance establishing a policy of budgetary control for the operating budget of expenditures for the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2018, and ending December 31st, 2018, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offer is read. Ask for a second. Mr. Lapine, seconds. Any questions, comments from the table? From the audience? With none, we're going to open for a vote.
Ms. Williams?
Ordinance passes 8-0.
6H, an ordinance to amend and as amended the Plaquemines Parish Port Harbor and Terminal District 2017 revenue and expenditure budget and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. Ask for a second. Mr. Burt, any questions from the table? This is basically the port is going to pay for 2017 $206,000 to the parish for interagency service charges. We had budgeted last year in 2016 for 2017 budget, but it wasn't formally appropriated from the port. So this has been taken care of through finance, and this is the official transfer of those funds. Any questions from the audience? With none, we open for a vote. And it passes 8-0. Aye, please.
A resolution to provide Port employees group coverages consisting of health, dental, vision, and life for the policy period of January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2018 on an employer-employee contributory basis of 83%/17% and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer as read. Ask for a second. Mr. Juneau seconds. This is health insurance. Any questions, comments from the table, from the audience? All right, with none, open for a vote. Eight zero. Jay, please.
A resolution to provide insurance for the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District for a period of January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2018 and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. It's read. Second one, Mr. Edgecombe. This is basically all the other insurance, workers' comp, physical damage, auto liability, hull and machinery, and other liability insurance. Any questions from the table? Questions, comments from the audience? With none, open for a vote. 8-0. Kay, please.
A resolution supporting the joint and use of the Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base, New Orleans runways and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. Ask for a second. Mr. Byrd seconds. Before I open this up to the table, Mr. Sanders, you want to go ahead and just give us a brief explanation of where we stand on this?
Yes, we are petitioning the Navy to allow a joint use of the Naval Air Station and introduce commercial air cargo onto their runways. This has been done only one other time in the United States out of Whiting Field in Pensacola, Florida. However, they never, even though they were blessed to go ahead, they never went through with it. So this will be the first time that any public entity has been allowed and will implement the introduction of commercial air cargo onto an active duty Navy base. This will have a multiple effect. First of all, we will pay a portion of the Navy's overhead with the fees that will be generated from this. So that is very good because it helps to insulate our Navy base from the base realignment and closure BRAC. Second of all, it will allow the port and our community to introduce a very important onward movement of cargo via commercial air cargo. Commercial air cargo has increased in the United States over 12%. And so this would be a great complement to the many modes of transportation that our port will offer in our quest to become a total transportation hub. The final product will be signed off, will go to the base skipper, Captain Sucato, and in turn, he will send it to his boss, Admiral in Norfolk, and then it will go to DOD where the Assistant Secretary will sign off and send it back to us. It's going to be a huge game changer for our area, and it will allow more business opportunities for our citizens to participate in, and will certainly assist our parish in increasing and diversifying our tax base.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments from the table? Mr. Bartholomew?
What's the time frame you think this will take, we concluded? And the reason, let me finish about that. The reasons for that, I have concern about the bypass, Walker Road bypass, because of the funding that we're looking for from the state to implement the program to complete the bypass.
Yes, sir.
And you have a lot of opposition that refuse to pay a toll that would orchestrate and fund the project and that will complete the project once it's being put in that perspective. Now, if that doesn't happen, what is the alternative for mobilizing transportation that will be impacting the 23 exit, entrance and exit on Highway 23 in Belle Chase area? Or will there be a problem, in fact?
I believe this project, once it is approved, will be an added emphasis to complete the Peters Road and the railroad bypass, because it will, obviously, will be generating more traffic. It will open up diversification and facilitate the industrialization of the properties around the air base. And again, that will place needed emphasis on the Peters Road bypass.
I understand the emphasis.
Yes, sir.
But the fact still remains funding. And very concerned about the funding mechanism of it. The emphasis will be there. I'm sure it's already there.
Yes.
How important it is. But it's still, to get it done, will be the problem, whether or not the people and this council is willing to accept the fact that we need to put a toll to complete this project ASP, so that we can make this happen expeditiously and not wait where we could lose everything because we don't have the bypass in place. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. Any other questions or comments from the table? Any from the audience? With none, we'll move to a vote. Let the record reflect it passes 8-0. Mr. Brustel is absent. All right, move to new business. 7A1.
7A1, a resolution authorizing Maynard J. Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to negotiate a letter of intent for port development subject to council approval and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer.
All right. You want to explain what this one is? Well,
Yeah, just for suspension.
Have to vote on the suspension
I mean,
first.
I know we can, but you want to know what we're voting to suspend, or y'all want to just vote to suspend it?
You can't talk
You can't talk
about
about it?
it?
All
It
right.
has to be on the table first, right?
Mason's rules.
All right.
All right, we'll vote for suspension. Who's Mason?
When that rule change?
Mr. Bartholomew?
All right, rules are suspended. 8-0. Ms. Marcotte?
A resolution authorizing Maynard J. Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to negotiate a letter of intent for port development subject to council approval and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer.
Ms. Bird offers. Ms. Williams seconds. Mr. Sanders?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This project is covered by a non-disclosure agreement. However, it will provide a corporate citizen in our community to expand their production. So I am going out to put together a letter of intent, and with the particulars of that letter of intent, I'll come back to the board, and then subject to your approval, it will be voted upon.
All right, thank you. I think everybody attended the briefing yesterday. All right, any other
I want
questions?
to comment,
Yes, sir.
appreciate the efforts, because we need to globalize as much as possible. And I think that's one effort that you have done that really symbolizes that.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Not too
Bartholomew.
many times I said that.
Any other questions or comments from the table? Any from the audience? All right, with none. It's not pressing.
You
I
don't
didn't get my
come.
nails done. Let the record. What's going on? Yeah, I'm sorry.
I voted. What happened?
Vote again.
I think my button's been sabotaged.
All right.
Let the record reflect. It passes 8-0, the resolution. Ms. Marcotte, 7A2.
A resolution approving the form and authorizing the amendment of certain documents pertaining to the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District adjustable rate annual tender port facilities revenue refunding bonds for International Marine Terminals Project, Series 1984A and Series 1984B, authorizing the execution of the Fourth Amendment and supplement to trust indenture, the Third Amendment and supplement to refunding agreement, and other documents in connection therewith, authorizing the Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District to do all things necessary to effectuate this resolution and providing for other matters in connection with the foregoing.
I'll offer. Ask for a second. Mr. Edgecombe, seconds. I will open for a vote for the suspension, please.
Pass me. I'm not voting.
All right, suspension passes 7. We have 1 absent and 1 not voting. All right, Ms. Walcott.
A resolution approving the form and authorizing the amendment of certain documents pertaining to the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District adjustable rate annual tender port facilities revenue refunding bonds International Marine Terminals Project, Series 1984A and Series 1984B, authorizing the execution of the Fourth Amendment and supplement to trust indenture, the Third Amendment and supplement to refunding agreement, and other documents in connection therewith, authorizing the Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District to do all things necessary to effectuate this resolution and providing for other matters in connection with the foregoing.
I'll offer. Ask for a second. Mr. Edgecombe, seconds. All right. I got a phone call from Mr. Mathis from IMT not long ago. I had a discussion in reference to the methane project that we talked about. I think all the members of the port are fully aware of. Hold on. Hey, tell Robin to shut that door, please. It's getting a lot of backfeed in here. All right, thanks. I love Rob. So basically, we had a long discussion about the methane project. Hugh Martin's office, and I think everybody's familiar with Mr. Hugh Martin. I think his reputation is quite well here as far as being a bond attorney. So when his office contacted me and said they needed to do some administrative issues in reference to their bond to complete this deal, we literally got it hashed out yesterday afternoon. So that's why we had to hurry up and suspend the rules and get on the agenda. This is nothing more than just that. The bond attorneys that work for Mr. Martin are here to address any questions or concerns. I think I sent the final version to you guys early this morning for review. Hopefully you were able to review it. If not, I will ask Jamie if you'd step up just to kind of give a brief synopsis of exactly what we're voting for, because there's a lot of legal language in this resolution. So just if you just state your name and the firm, please.
I work for Foley and Udell as bond counsel for many entities around the state. To give you some background on several items, I'm going to explain the timing, why it's such a short time frame, what the amendments are seeking to do that this resolution authorizes, and the fact that there would be no effect on or no change to the port's situation with the bonds. There's no liability on the port, no change in the security for these bonds. So let me start with the timing. On November 2nd, as I'm sure most of you are familiar, probably all of you, the House submitted a bill, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and in the House bill, it eliminates private activity bonds. These bonds are private activity bonds. So if that bill passes, there could not be an amendment of the documents related to these bonds after December 31st. So when the bill came out, it just triggered a lot of entities to look at their bond documents and see if there was anything they were considering doing that would need to, that would cause an amendment of the bond documents, and that would need to be done before December 31st. And IMT was one of those entities. And they reached out to us, and we have been working to see if we could accomplish those amendments. They have to get bondholder consent to be able to amend the documents, and before they can even request bondholder consent, this resolution would have to pass authorizing IMT to reach out to the bondholders. So that's why the short time frame has happened, and why we're looking, why it wasn't introduced previously, why it's on the agenda today. As far as what the amendments do, the amendments, the Fourth Amendment to the indenture and the Third Amendment to the refunding agreement that are referenced in the resolution, what they permit is IMT to sell excess land that it's no longer using. I know Brian has spoken to the council members before about what they're trying to do with that land, and he can answer questions about that. I know Chairman Black mentioned the project. In addition, the bonds are variable rate, and they are based on an index that no longer exists. You know, the bonds are from 1984, and times have just changed, and the way the interest rate is set, the basis for it no longer exists. So administratively, we're trying to take that complicated procedure that doesn't really work anymore for setting the interest rate and just have it be set automatically, which is already built into the documents. It's the process of getting there that we're cleaning up. And then finally, as far as how this affects the Port District, it really doesn't have any effect on the Port District because these bonds are secured by a letter of credit with Wells Fargo. So if IMT, for some, unimaginable reason, didn't make its interest payments on the bonds, Wells Fargo is obligated to step in and make those payments. And Wells Fargo, as well as the bondholders, have to consent before any of these amendments could be made. Can I answer any questions or provide further details?
Yeah, I have one question. All associated attorney's fees in regards to bond counsel will be paid for by
IMT.
Okay, so there is no obligation at all to the port?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Sure. Mr. Bartholomew?
That was one of my questions. The other one is that Wells Fargo, don't they have scams and stuff about their bank?
Wells.
Do they have scams going on about financial activities that are disapproved?
I couldn't.
Wells Fargo Bank.
Are there scams?
With Wells Fargo, I think they
Wells
have.
Fargo, Wells
couple
Fargo.
years ago,
Come on,
yeah.
Dan.
Oh, gosh,
You're not
no.
one of those people that don't understand the Wells Fargo concept.
No.
But I'm just saying, in case if something happens that they don't honor what they're supposed to do, will it fall on us?
Absolutely not.
All right,
no,
thank you. That's all the
no
question I have.
obligation on the port.
I just
Ms.
don't trust
Sal-
Wells Fargo.
Sorry.
Yes, my question would be to Brian, how does this affect, I'm assuming that this has much to do with the methanol plant, right? Okay.
Mr. Mathis, come up. Thanks.
What type of impact would this have on the methanol, the building of the methanol plant? Or this is the reason that you're attempting to do this? Is in light of the methanol sale?
Correct. So this is a step in the process for facilitating the development of the project. That land, this is a step in facilitating the development of the project. This land was within the bond profile, and like I said, it's unused, it's been unutilized, so it will now be carved out and be sold for the development of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the table? Any questions or comments, concerns from the audience? All right, with none, we'll vote on item 7A2. Let the record reflect that the resolution passes 8-0. Good luck, Mr. Mathis. Thank you, guys. All right, move to item 8.
Approval of the November 9, 2017 special meeting minutes and the November 28, 2017 budget hearing minutes.
Offer.
Offer from Mr. Bartholomew, seconded by Mr. Burt.
Question? Question has been called.
Question's been called. Item's open for a vote. And it passes 8-0. Before we adjourn, I want to take just a brief minute to thank a few folks. I want to thank, first of all, my colleagues on the council for affording me the opportunity to serve this parish and serve the port and serve the entire Port Commission as the chairman for the last 2 years. It was a very, very good experience in my career, a very good experience in public service. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We, of course, had some issues to overcome, but I think the voting record that we had over the last 2 years is a testament to what Sandy has done and what his staff has done for the port. I want to also thank the constituents for holding us accountable when we needed to be held accountable and make sure that we were staying within our lane and doing the job that we were elected to do. So I appreciate the constituents for that. I also want to thank the parish president, who also, as time to time, tried to hold us accountable as well. I think we've had somewhat of a rocky relationship when it comes to the port, but I think we all want what's best for the parish at the end of the day. So even though we disagree on port-related issues, I think we've had an open dialogue throughout. So I want to thank you for that as well, Mr. President. It's been a pleasure working with Sandy, and it's been a really good experience to bring Paul Matthews on board. I know everybody on the council participated in that process. I think we stole Paul from Port of New Orleans, and I say stole him. I think we did steal you. I think we got somebody who is going to be here for a long time as a leader in this parish. I like your work ethic. I like what you bring to the table. I think I can speak for the entire council when I say that. It's been a pleasure to be part of the process to bring you on board. I think you have a great mentor in Sandy to learn from, as well as Sandy's staff. But with Chambrell and Donald and Christy, your office has been open door policy, open phone call. I know you've taken my criticism in stride, because I have done that quite often. But I think at the end of the day, it's paid off. You guys have done a great job, so we appreciate that, and I look forward to continuing to serve on the board for the next year and under Charlie Burt's watch, and then Mr. Lapine as the vice chairman. So it's been a pleasure. I think we'll continue to grow and succeed, and I look forward to what this port has to offer in the many years to come. So thank you all. Appreciate it. Thank you, council. Yes.
First, that sounded like a goodbye speech. You're not going anywhere. So. No, Bo, thanks for your leadership. Thanks for stepping up to the plate. Oftentimes we sit up here and, it's a very difficult job, wearing a multitude of hats. And thank you for being that leader. Thanks for being that vocal point for the port. And thanks for being a great friend up here, too. And I look forward to filling those shoes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Ms. Williams?
Yeah, I just kind of want to reiterate what Mr. Burt just said. Job well done, Mr. Black. You took on the role, and you held Sandy accountable and everyone else, and I found that you kept us informed about the dealings at the port and what was going on. So I just want to commend you for a job well done.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. I appreciate it. I won't say it wasn't fun, kind of jumping on a two-star general's butt a little bit, but anyway. All right, with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Offer by Mr. Solomon, second by Mr. Lapine. Machine is open. With that, we adjourn 8-0 at 1:41. Thanks.
Once again, I would like to thank the Port Board for your vote for our employees. Thank you very much.
Yes?
I call the council meeting to order at 1:48. Everyone have a seat, please. This time we'll go to bids and advertisement. We'll dispense with the pledge and the prayer was already done. And then we'll move to G at the request of Councilman Williams.
Thank you, sir. I'm Brenda Stanford, the parish purchasing agent. I have a resolution authorizing acceptance of bids for furnishing chemicals for a period of 1 year for use by the Water and Sewer Department. After due advertisements, bids were received December 5th from the following: Brentag
hold on.
Southwest.
Roll call, please.
I'm sorry.
Roll call, please. Somebody voted no.
Oh, my God. Yes, please, reconsideration. I'm sorry.
All 8 council members are present, with the exception of Councilman Roussel, who's absent.
Okay, now we ready? I have a resolution authorizing acceptance of bids for furnishing chemicals for a period of 1 year for the use by the Water and Sewer Department. After due advertisements, bids were received December 5th from the following: Brentag Southwest of Texas, DPC Enterprises of Reserve, Louisiana, GEO Chemicals of Arkansas, Polydon of Georgia, Thornton, Mooson, and Bellum out of Zachary, and Louisiana Waste Treatment Company out of Belchase, and Univar out of Kent, Washington. Mr. Robert Morgan, the supervisor of Severn Trent, recommends the acceptance of the low bid of Brentag Southwest for items number 3, 5, 6, and 7, the low bid of DPC Enterprises for items 8 and 9, the low bid of Polydon for items 2, 10, 11, and 12, and the low bid of Thornton for items 4, 13, and 14. Item number 1 will be deferred for pilot testing until the next council meeting.
Offered by Mr. Burt, our second. Question from the table. Audience, machine is open. Item passes 8-0.
Thank you so much.
Councilman Roussel is absent. At this time, at the request of our next year chairperson lady, request, Ms. Williams, move to 7K. 7K, please.
Motion to override partial veto of ordinance number 17-166 for Fund 001-General, Department 320, Division 2080, line item 532.001, Professional Services General, increase of $17,030. Councilmember Williams.
I'll offer.
Has been offered by Ms. Williams, second by Councilman Black. Discussion from the table.
Yes, I just want to give a little brief description on my stance on this motion to override this partial veto. This government body sat at the budget hearings for 3 days, going through items, trying to balance the budget and restore services and things of that nature. And and after 3 days at the end, we approved the budget as proposed, 9-0 to accept it, which included this item. So that's why I'm offering this motion to override. I feel that the decisions that we made at the budget hearing should stand.
Mr. President.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is something that I was compelled to do. We had meetings back in June, July, at which there was much concern voiced about grass cutting and other matters. And unfortunately, I'd love to play much as we all would love, the council and the administration would love to play Santa Claus to everyone. We're in a period of time in which there's more needs and demands and requests than there is sufficient money to meet all of them. And I was compelled to do this for two reasons. One was there is a state statute on point that it's hidden in there, and it provides specifically, it's Louisiana Revised Statute 16:574, and it gives a special privilege to the District Attorney's Office of Plaquemines Parish, in which the operating budget, in subsection C, the operating budget shall not be reduced without the consent of the District Attorney, and that in no year can the District Attorney's budget be reduced without his consent, which we know that won't happen, and without a corresponding, the only exception is when there's in the case of a pro rata reduction in the operating budgets of all other departments in the parish of Plaquemines. Now, as everyone is well aware, Plaquemines Parish government has lost massive amounts of manpower. We have been cut. Our manpower compared to historically, going back, say, 7 years ago, is at almost cut in half. And these monies here, which specifically represent, and this was a line item veto, which is clearly within the presidential prerogative. It was where there was a 573% increase for professional services, which, as many of you know, on my 10th day in office, after 8 years of being in a building, and after the specific design approval by the district attorney of his new building, which we are building for him, in the new courthouse, which is in construction, he filed suit to request the third office building. Now, putting that issue aside, policy issue aside, the more immediate concern here is that with this money, by one, long-term, everyone, not just parish government, the people of this parish should not be the only ones to feel the reduction in services, the reduction in grass cutting, and other issues, the sparse manpower for recreation departments for our children. Everyone should partake in this reduction. And this office, the district attorney's office, has not had a corresponding reduction. They have, the district attorney's office, unlike other offices, has sources of funding both from the parish, from the state, and from federal government at times. So this does not represent any cut to the district attorney's office. This simply represents not giving an increase in revenue at a time when we have not had any increases. We're still suffering from manpower shortages in parish government. So we've had to tighten our belt, and I feel like everyone has to tighten their belt along with parish government. And with this savings in my veto, this could easily, money could then be used to rehire some of the tractor drivers that we lost with which to cut grass, especially in districts where grass cutting is a high priority.
Anyone else? Comments?
I do. You presented us a proposed budget, Mr. Cormier, and it's my understanding this line item was included. Therefore, nothing was mentioned that this line item needed to be removed. We accepted this budget, so that's where I stand.
Councilman Black?
I have two comments, and to further what Ms. Williams said, that was in your budget proposal. We actually cut that particular line item and reduced it to the $17,000. So you know, to after the fact come back and accuse the council of either padding his budget or him padding his own budget. That money was there, plus additional $12,000. I want to say it was closer to $30,000 total in professional service that was in the 2018 proposed budget that you proposed to the council. The council reduced it $12,000 to make it $17,000. So those are facts. So we've already reduced that budget. My question, I guess, would be, and it's probably just better left unanswered, is out of the 1,000 plus pages, out of the tens of thousands of line items in the entire budget, you chose $17,000 from the department of an individual who has filed a mandamus against you.
Point of order, please.
Based on what, sir?
Mandamus. We're not dealing with the mandamus. We're dealing with the legislation for the Williams about this on the budget.
Okay, then let me get to my direct question, and I won't mention the mandamus.
All right.
Are you seeking to remove the $17,000 from that budget to deplete any attempts to defend his office or the litigation that he's put before you or against you?
Councilman Black, perhaps you didn't understand.
Excuse me, Mr. President. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Perhaps you didn't understand. Let me try to explain that again. In the revised statutes, Title 16:574, there's a special provision here to that once the budget is increased, as you so desire to do, for that office, then it cannot be reduced again in the future. So that is the specific answer to your question. There's again, anyone can look it up. It's Louisiana Revised Statute, Title 16:574C. And so there's a special provision in the law. Once it goes up, it can't come back down. Now, as you supported and voted, and again, I understand it was because of budgetary constraints, to greatly reduce Plaquemines Parish government manpower and a corresponding reduction in services.
Excuse me, Mr. President. Point of order, please.
And if I may just address Councilwoman Williams' question or query. In my budget that I presented, I had rehired, a balanced budget, rehired 12 tractor drivers. And and you voted, as well as Councilman Black, to take out and strip the budget.
Well, I'm going to
the
go
12
off
tractor
of a
Excuse me, point of order. We're dealing with the...
And you also,
excuse me, Ms. Williams, please. We're dealing with the legislation that's before us. Is the mandamus on the amended item, budgetary item, line item. What's the line item number?
Okay.
K,
7K.
line item K7K. Please, let's just stick to that, if you don't mind.
yeah, you speak and I'm calling questions.
Mr. Bartholomew?
Yeah, wait, the solvent.
Yes, I'm going to add my 1.5 cents to this conversation, and I think it's greatly known that I'm not supporting one or the other, and as Mr. Black had stated earlier, that it's been an ongoing feud between the DA office and the president, but that's not my fight, and that's not my issue. But I also agree with Ms. Williams' point of view. You know, we sat through a grueling budget hearing, Mr. President, and it was a recommendation. The budget was recommended by you, and we voted on the budget that you presented to us. And to come back now and, you know, to make any changes, arbitrary changes to it right now, I think it would be a disservice to this council and to the general public. So I'm going to have to, as I said, and I don't have a dog in this hunt right now. I have a dog. He's out there, and he will be a part of this hunt. And but at the moment, I'm going to have to agree with Ms. Williams. I will be supporting this legislation in light of the action that this council took in the budget hearing. Thank you.
And if I may respond, Mr. Chairman?
Question has been called. Ms. Williams. Pass 8-0. Back to the beginning of the agenda, please. Executive session. Mr. Rousseau is not here.
I will offer on his behalf, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
1A1, Plaquemines Parish Council versus Plaquemines Parish President Amos Cormier III, 25th JDC, case number 64-047. Division A, Attorney Danny Garrett, Councilmember Roussel, which Councilmember Burt will be moving forward in his behalf. Number 2, Charles Ballet versus Amos Cormier, 4th Circuit Court of Appeals, docket number 2017-CA-0512, Councilmember Black.
Motion to move into executive session. Offer, Ms. Williams, seconded by Councilman Juneau. The machine is open. Seven zero. Let record reflect. HCOM has left for today, or is leaving for today. So we have 7 council members present. Now we adjourn to executive session. Call council meeting back to order at 3:08. Came out of executive sessions. There were no action taken.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman.
Recommendations at that point in time. I have a request from Councilman Black to make a statement. Councilman Black.
Yeah, I do. In reference to executive session, the item Mr. Burt offered, which is item number 1, Plaquemines Parish Council versus Plaquemines Parish President Amos Cormier, reference to the mandamus. We had a hearing on that mandamus earlier in the month, in which the judge in Division A had asked that both parties get together and negotiate an agreement. I want to just say that I'm highly disappointed because this council got together in executive session and had a conversation for over 40 minutes, and then had asked the other party to that suit to come in, the president, and him and his legal team refused to come in and negotiate with us. So they didn't even hear what we had to offer or discuss. We're trying to extend an olive branch, follow the judge's order, to have a civil negotiation amongst ourselves and come to a conclusion. And I'm highly disappointed that they refused to even come and listen to what we had to offer. So with that, Mr. Bartholomew, I'm done.
Okay, Mr. President.
Yes. And Councilman Black, I'm highly disappointed that you mischaracterized, because when you first brought this political lawsuit, you kicked us out of the executive session meeting when I asked and requested to be present. And I even cited the charter, which allows me to be present or have my representative present. And for sake of the spirit of trying to work together, I complied and just left. So after, as you mentioned just briefly ago, this politically driven lawsuit, naturally, if I'm kicked out once, no need for me to come back a second time. But we'll let the court deal with that.
At this time, we'd like to move to, at the request of Mr. Vince Prellish, T. Item T, please, 6T. I'd like to offer with the change. You have to change?
An ordinance to transfer funding from the Levy Lift Project WBV-09A and Levy Lift Project WBV-12 to the East Bank Sediment Pipeline and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I offer with those changes. Pass out there. Second.
I'll second for discussion.
Second by Mr. Williams. Okay. Mr. Burt.
I'll just second for discussion.
I'll open the discussion if you want.
I'll open it.
You want to discuss? You want to discuss something?
Yeah, okay. The funding for the, well, first of all, this project was never, at least a couple of council members, was never brought to the council to even discuss the project, what its intention was, and most importantly, this funding is coming out of District 5. On behalf of Mr. Roussel, he had some concerns about the funding source. So, you know, if Coastal Zone wants to come give us an update on this project, what its intent was, and just kind of update us, you know.
My name is Brent Dewey. I'm with Coastal Engineering Solutions. I help Mr. Vince in the coastal program. I'll try to give you a little background on this project, and I was just pulled in recently. My associate could not make this meeting. Evidently, the Levy Lift project has excess budget. The engineering and design is complete. It's in the construction phase. They have more than enough money to finish that project out with extra funds for this project and other projects. This project in particular was brought forth by St. Bernard, and they have an interest in doing some projects that are beneficial to both St. Bernard and Plaquemines Parish. Most of the projects were submitted by Plaquemines Parish for inclusion in the master plan. They actually reside in Plaquemines Parish. The Land Bridge is one. The Carlisle Ridge is another. A couple of other projects. So this would begin the work in working with St. Bernard on the first phase to get the planning, engineering, design of these projects with two parishes working together. I'm sorry that you guys haven't been briefed ahead of time. We just found out. I didn't know this was even on the, had been introduced till this week. And we tried to reach out to a few of you.
I'm not, Mr. Bernard. How long ago was this project brought to the Coastal Zone Department from St. Bernard?
I wasn't part of that, but I wasn't part of those discussions. But Amos met with, how long ago was the meeting that you guys had with the parish president of St. Bernard?
Councilman Burt, I mean, if you have an issue with deferring this, we'd be more than glad to give you more information.
Yeah, I'm asking it to be deferred, but my concern is, you know, we all sit up here and talk about coastal restoration and projects and, you know, identifying projects, but when we're not even involved in the selection process or even briefed on the projects that you're asking for funding for, I've got a hard time allocating money. And I support the project. I just don't support it in the fashion that's being put in front of me right now. That's all, sir.
Councilman Black, Councilman Lapine.
Yeah, has any council member reached out to you or to your firm to discuss this project?
We got to go ahead from the administration to talk to you guys when we knew it was on the agenda. That's this week, like literally 2 days ago. Y'all might know my associate.
So we just
David
put it on
St.
the agenda. So when you mean you got the permission to talk to the council, you didn't have permission to talk to the council about it?
As a consultant hired by the administration, you know, we work with the administration. It puts, you know,
let me just get to the point, because I know what transpired here, and I see Mr. Vince coming up, you know, to bail you out a little bit. But I'm going to put you on the spot because you are a paid consultant and you work for us. So were you given the opportunity prior to it being put on the agenda to have discussions with the council? Or were you told not to. Don't worry about it.
I don't.
Don't worry about it.
No, I would, and I've dealt with plenty of council members and
On this particular project.
Not on this particular project, but we would, when we knew it was on the agenda and y'all would be discussing it and voting on it, I would certainly bring it up to Mr. Vince and Amos and say, we need to brief the council, because I don't want to be right here talking to you about it. I'd much prefer talking to you guys beforehand.
Right. And I probably think you were prohibited to do that, so it's not your fault. And I told your colleague that I'm not voting on this today, although I do, in principle, agree with the project, but I haven't had an opportunity to do my due diligence on this project or even filter through the other CPRA projects. So, I'm not supporting it at this time, and there's no issue towards you. You were given your marching orders, and thank you for your comment. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Mr. President.
And Councilman Black, as I stated to Councilman Burt, my apologies. We agree with the deferral, and we'll call a meeting so that you can meet with Mr. Dewey and ask all the questions and have your questions answered satisfactorily. So, sorry, my apologies. Sorry about that.
Mr. Williams, take your second. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Because after that, we'll go ahead, Mr. Levine. We're going to defer.
I just want to echo my colleague's comments, because I was notified yesterday about this project, and I know it was on the agenda, and I had some questions about it too. But I'm not against the project. I'm happy for the project. I want it to move forward. But again, when we talk about this big word, transparency, and I'm not, this is not aimed at you. This is aimed at the people sitting over there. We need to be part of that conversation also. Okay, and that's where we lose that focus, or we lose that that spirit of working together. So today, I would hope that it dies for, not dies, but you remove your second and it gets deferred today, and maybe we can get some meetings set up next week or before the next meeting. Okay, thank you,
Mr. Burt.
Yeah, I'd just like to, one last comment, Mr. President. In addition to this project, I think it would be a great idea to maybe have a comprehensive review of all the coastal projects that are going on, that are being submitted to CPRA, or if any of these projects are internally. I think the council would much appreciate that.
I would like to get together with you and do that, Councilman Hurt. Thank you.
All right. It has been, Ms. Williams withdrew her second. We're going to defer the item to the next council meeting. This time we will move to a proclamation. Do we have any? Status report by the President. Mr. President, are you ready?
Yes. Good afternoon. For the record, Parish President Amos Cormier status report for November 10th to December 14th. On November 13th, the administration, along with Council Members Williams, Councilmember Juneau, and Councilmember Roussel, attended the Police Jury Association meeting in New Orleans, and were briefed on certain matters regarding local government. There were several meetings with RPC, the Regional Planning Commission, and I've officially requested assistance from the Regional Planning Commission for funding for studies and or funding to address some of the traffic concerns around Louisiana 406 and F. Edward Hebert Highway Street. And I've been informed by Mr. Brooks that he thinks that he can be of assistance to us in that project. So far, we've received funding from Regional Planning Commission for the ferry dolphins on the Belchas Scarsdale Ferry. On 11/14, did an interview on the Spud McConnell Show, highlighting Plaquemines Parish and many of the wonderful things we have to offer here in this parish, and the future that we have ahead. On November 15th, had a meeting with one of the veterinarians, Ms. April Ulmer, at the Paul Center, and we discussed their concerns with the problems that we're having with the Paws building. I personally noted some of the areas where the building was leaking. These buildings were built, I think, back around 2009, and there's ongoing litigation to try to repair the leaks in those buildings. And we reach out to the people at Paws, and we thank them for their work, and we're trying to fix the atmosphere and the building in which they do conduct their good and noble work. 11/16, we had a meeting with some representatives from the governor's office. On the 17th, we had the Plaquemines Parish Courthouse Christmas party, which was a good time enjoyed by all. On December 1st through 3rd, we had the Orange Festival. I want to thank all the Plaquemines Parish government employees who did a great job of preparing the Fort Jackson area, as well as I'll single out James Madare and the volunteers who helped cut and clean the interior of Fort Jackson. And we were proud to open up the interior of Fort Jackson for tours and viewing, and they had some reenactment specialists there as well, answering people's questions. As well, thank you, Councilwoman Williams, for we opened up the Fort Jackson Museum as well during that time, and many people, it was a wonderful learning, educational opportunity for many people who were touring and visiting our parish. On December 4th, we had a meeting with the Sheriff's Office and other local elected officials. December 5th, toured the Boothville Venice, the current temporary community center, where we had an opportunity to speak with some of the senior citizens from the area, and it's always good to get feedback on ways in which we can try to work on our services. On December 6th, went to Riverbend Nursing Home, and there, once again, had some good feedback from citizens here of the parish. On that same night, Senator Troy Carter had his Christmas party, and I was happy to have an opportunity to speak with him. He represents a certain portion of Plaquemines Parish, and we were just coordinating some of our agenda items for the Capitol in Baton Rouge, and he has been helpful. On December 8th, had a meeting with the master naturalist of the Greater New Orleans. I spoke to them about our coastal wetlands situation. One of the biggest questions that they had was that we have about $50 billion worth of projects that the state would like to do, and unfortunately the state does not have the money and the resources to do all of those projects. And I discussed how the need for both our parish and the state to receive the GOMESA monies, as well as potential sources of future funding via mitigation from the Mississippi River and Tributaries Project. And they had some very good questions on that topic, and we need to continue working to obtain that funding so that we can do these projects for our coastline. Also on that date, December 8th, we were supposed to do a tour of Lake Hermitage. Unfortunately, that was canceled, and because of we had the light freeze, and we worked diligently. We were preparing to spread sand on the roads in the event of a freeze. Thank God the next day the sun came out and warmed things up, so we avoided having to do that. On December 10th, I want to compliment the Taravellas of Belchase. They have raised over $800,000 for the Rare Trait Fund, and because of their hard and diligent work, they are now, one of the doctors who spoke at the event, they have now had a trial case study in mice in which they used a virus and injected the gene into the virus and transmitted via the virus the gene into mice to cure this rare trait disease. And they're very hopeful. They're going to the FDA and other regulatory agencies, and they're hopeful to have approval to do clinical trials in humans. So I want to compliment the Taravellas, Jody and his wife, on all their hard work on this project. It reminds me of that famous movie Lorenzo's Oil that happened a few years back, and this is something great going on in Plaquemines that was led in Plaquemines Parish. On December 11th, we had a meeting with Council Members Williams, Council Members Juneau, Council Members Burt, Council Member Russo on Plaquemines Parish government-owned land. We've had some instances during this duck hunting season in which individuals have made claims that are of a questionable nature as to running off local residents off of what is purportedly Plaquemines Parish government lands for duck hunting purposes. And so we brought in L.V. Cooley, the attorney who's been doing this for decades, and he's been instructed to conduct the research on the titles of these properties so that we can address this matter. Thank goodness so far there has been no physical, confrontation, but we want to stay abreast of these things, and I commend the council members for bringing this to the administration's attention and for their collaboration in this. On December 12th, met with Galaforo Construction, and they and this administration is requesting your support for the Port Suffolk Library ordinance, which is before you today. Today, they have the Joint Transportation Committee meeting in Baton Rouge on the Belchas Bridge and Tunnel. And we've sent a representative from the administration up there. As some of you have heard, the state, with the support of this administration, has applied for an INFRA grant and to the tune of $50 to $60 million. That grant money could be used to build a new bridge over the Intracoastal Waterway on Highway 23, which is, in my opinion, greatly needed. As many know, the tunnel was constructed in the 50s and the bridge began construction in the 60s. Both are obsolete and need to be replaced. And hopefully we will be successful in obtaining that grant. DOTD is the technical applicant. And unfortunately, this is one of the reasons why, we should all continue to work together, because Fouchon submitted a parallel grant. And that's was a little bit troubling, both to Secretary Wilson of DOTD and to this administration, because, as many of you recall, when we had the Mississippi River Bridge tolls, which many of our parish residents paid into, those monies were used to build the elevated highway to Fouchon. And now for Fouchon to come back and submit a parallel grant application, it just highlights the fact of how, as residents of Plaquemines, we need to work together so that because we're competing with other parishes and other states. We have a public notice. Unfortunately, a contractor for custom stone north of the Intracoastal Waterway last night hit the main water line tie-in. And so we had to, the help of Mr. Morgan, we had to bring in some water from Jefferson Parish, but we also, as a precautionary measure, issued a boil water notice subject to be in compliance with state regulatory procedures. We are awaiting the Department of Health and Hospitals testing. The lab sample is sent. As soon as we get the results of that lab sample, we hope to lift the boil water notice. And that is just for the area north of the Intracoastal Waterway. And lastly, I was invited to a private screening of a movie, Be Resilient. And it's a wonderful movie. I recommend it to anyone. It's a movie that takes a stance against human trafficking. I met with two of the officers, a captain and lieutenant, who are members or lead one of the largest agencies that fights human trafficking in California, as well as some producers and directors. And just wanted to let them know that I think since the Jindal days of the Louisiana film tax credits, we had to cut that subsidy down some, but letting everyone know that Plaquemines Parish is open for business and that we want to encourage their investment in Plaquemines and encourage future activities such as the NCIS filming that has been done here and with which we do receive some revenue. And I'm sure my colleagues on the council let them know that anything we can do to facilitate business in Plaquemines, we will be there to help. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I tend to floor.
Thank you. Mr. President, with the last comment about the movie industry, I had submitted a request to the Finance Department to revisit our charges, which is out of line with the area, metropolitan area, for them to redo it. And I haven't had anything yet, so I would seek your support in trying to develop that and get that come to rest, and we can take care of it.
Yes,
because we out of line.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will work on that.
Councilman Black.
Yeah, Mr. Cormier. I was going to wait till the end, but since you mentioned it, I do want to recognize Robert Morgan from Infomark now and his team. Troy called me last night, and I went to the location on Engineers Road and witnessed firsthand a group of Troy and 5 other employees working hard to close that main, which affected an entire neighborhood of over 200 homes. So they got it done about as quick as you can get done. I also noticed in that particular main break was in District 5. I contacted Mr. Roussel, who met me out there. Although we do like to attract business, we want to have responsible business in. That particular company is leasing that building. They have been dumping broken granite and marble into the drainage canal in front. We notified the sheriff's office, had them come out there. I think they were going to send their Mr. Freeney to investigate it today. But I never had a chance this morning to get with Mr. Russo. I think he was out sick, and see if a public request was put in to go send somebody from either the health department or some type of code enforcement to take a look at that illegal dumping operation. But, you know, that's something different. But I do want to also recognize Robert and Troy for that quick work. So thanks.
And thank you, Councilman Black. Yes, our thanks go out to Mr. Morgan, who's always diligent and always on call, and to everyone that works with him. So we thank you.
Also, I can lead to the situation with the water lines on the East Bank that is constantly breaking in the breakaway area, because we can only apply up to 50-some pounds of pressure. And every time we go beyond that, it breaks at a different spot. And through Mr. Morgan's commitment with his and his staff personnel, the time, Reverend Giles, the time of being down is very minimum. But in all, the line itself needs to be replaced. So council members, just remember that and look into it, because this is a necessity of having healthy water in that area, and also being able to fight fire as well. And Mr. President, if you can look into any grants or anything that may be available to help us just solve this problem expeditiously. And I thank you for your support down the road. Thank you. Any other comments for the President at this time? Okay, move to the next item.
Number 3, beer and liquor licenses.
With Councilman Black, do you have any? Councilman Lepine?
Yeah.
I have one.
We'll come back to him. Come on back.
I have 3. Belchase Fewmore, I don't have the address of the post office box, 8180 Belchase Highway, Belchase, Louisiana. Belchase Shell, 7876 Belchase Highway, Belchase. Balestras Food Center, 7902 Highway 23, Belchase. That's all.
Councilman Gino?
Yes, I have one. Fuzzy and Bob's Seafood Restaurant, 9052 Highway 23, Belchase, Louisiana.
I have two. Special Boat Launch, 212 Special Road, Point Lahash, Louisiana. Food at Bar, 17059 Highway 15, Event, Louisiana.
I have none, sir.
Solvent?
Yes, I have two renewals. Woodland Plantation LLC, 21997 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. And the G-Spot Daiquiris, 324 Port Sulphur, Louisiana, 783. Thank you.
Williams?
I don't have any, but I have three for Mr. Edgecombe. Express Food and Fuel, 14715 Highway 23. Duloc Canal Marina, 317 Rosemary Drive. And Gulf Seafood Company of Empire, Inc., 168 Icehouse Road.
Thank you. It's been offered by Councilman Lapine, seconded by Councilman Juno. Okay, go ahead.
Rotolo's LLC, 102 Belchase Highway, Woodland Highway, Suite 5.
Scene is open. Passes 7-0. At this time, I'd like to go, before we go to construction and ordinance resolution, second reading, are there any deferrals? Anybody? Councilman William Black, have any deferrals?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Item 6.2.
6-2 deferred.
Yeah, 6A2, yes. Item 6J, deferred.
6J, deferred.
And that's all.
Councilman Lapine, Councilman Juno.
I'm going to withdraw 6M.
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 That's it?
Yes.
Solvent.
Yes, I'm going to just defer 7B.
What?
7B,
7B.
as in boy,
7B.
and 7J.
William?
I don't have any, but Mr. Edgecombe would like to defer 6A4.
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 Deferred.
6B, as in boy.
6B deferred.
Withdraw 6E.
Withdraw 6E.
Defer 6F.
Deferred 6F.
And defer 7E.
Yes. Anybody going to, Mr. Rosello, want to defer those?
I've got some of his legislation I'm going to take care
You
of.
want to take them all? All right. Great, so you can handle them all. Bob, you have those, you want to go over them?
Okay, the following items are deferred. 6A2, 6A4, 6B as in boy, 6F, 6J, 7B as in boy, 7E, and 7J. And the following are withdrawals: 6E and 6M as in Mary.
We'll take the construction permits in Globo. There is no objection. We're doing Globo.
Number 1, the Beta Group application number 2017-755, dated October 27, 2017, drilled 2 soil borings for future relocation of Port Ship Services dock, Point Celeste area near Port Sulphur. Councilmember Trufant Salvan. Eustis Engineering application number 2017-767, dated October 31, 2017, drill 1 soil boring for new residents, Laura Seat Lane, Myrtle Grove, lots 138 and 139. Councilmember Trufant Salvan. McMoran Oil and Gas LLC application number 2017-771, dated November 2, 2017, plug and abandoned wells, remove flow lines and all other structures, West Delta 24 Oil and Gas Field. Councilmember Williams. Hellas Oil and Gas Company LLC application number 2017-772, dated November 2, 2017, after the fact emergency repairs to an existing 10-inch bulk oil pipeline and future repairs, West Black Bay Field. Councilmember Bartholomew. Terracon Consultants, Inc., application number 2017-811, dated November 17, 2017, performed 2 cone penetrometer test and 2 soil borings for future Dollar General store, Oak Road and Highway 23, Empire. Councilmember Edgecombe. Gulf South Pipeline Company application number 2017-206, dated March 14, 2017, 3 anomaly repairs to an existing 16-inch pipeline, Lake Leary. Councilmember Bartholomew. LLOX LLC application number 2017-665, dated September 25, 2017, Mud Lake 3D seismic survey, Lake 5, Wilkinson Canal near Bayou St. Denis. Councilmember Edgecombe. Greg Kuhn, application number 2017-239, dated October 23, 2017, installed 2-slip boat shed with dock, 113 Deer Range, Myrtle Grove, Phase 1. Councilmember Trufant Salvan.
Offered by Councilman Trufant. I'll second. Are there any questions from the table? Audience? Scene is open. Passes 6-0. Next item.
Take them in Globo.
Yeah, we.
Stump RV Park, Stumps Supermarket, Inc., Trailer Park Renewal, 113 Stumps Lane, Venice, Louisiana. Councilmember Williams. Morels Gulf Coast Park, Arthur J. Morel Jr., Trailer Park Renewal, 32368 Highway 23, Empire, Louisiana. Councilmember Edgecombe. Shady Oaks Trailer Park, Frank Daigle, Trailer Park Renewal, Shady Oaks Lane, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Councilmember Edgecombe. Emmett's Trailer Park, number 2, Emmett Adolph Jr., Trailer Park Renewal, Emmett's Lane, Boothville, Louisiana. Councilmember Williams.
That's been offered by Councilman Williams, second by Councilman Bartholomew. Are there questions from the table? Audience? Machine is open. Passes 7-0. Introduction. Councilman Black.
None.
Councilman Lepine.
I have 2. An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of a property of Lot B4, Belle Chase Plantation, Section D, Belle Chase, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, into lots B4A and B4B, Belle Chase Plantation, Section D, Belle Chase, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the plan and plot of survey by Dufresne Survey and Engineering Incorporated, dated October 17, 2017. The owner having fulfilled all the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemines without the cost of the Plaquemines Parish government or the parish of the parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing and directing the parish president to expand the funds for the renovation of the DA Building 201 at the Consolidated Government Complex being part of the Plaquemines Parish Project number 16-0201, with said funds being in the amount of $2,437,737.09 from the Community Development Block Grant, $616,325.56 from the Hazard Mitigation Program, HMGP, and the District Attorney's funds in the amount of $264,784 transferred to the Plaquemines Parish Government by Ordinance 16-52, with the HMGB funds being part of the project number 1603-075-003, with the CBDBG funds being part of the project number ILTR 00223, and further to execute the construction contract with the CDB Services LLC that was authorized by Pan American Engineers LLC on January 5, 2017, ordered and executed by Judge Barbera on March 20, 2017, and all other acts necessary to complete the project. That is all.
Councilman
I have
Gino.
none.
Have several. An ordinance to amend and amended readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District map therein adopted by reference, and which phrase chair to with reference to application number 2017-271 dated October the 19th, 2017, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution denying the request of map change filed by Connie and Stacy Spencer for RS-2 single-family dwelling zoning district to RM-2 multifamily unit zoning district for Lot 4 of the St. Clair Estate subdivision, Root Street, St. Clair, Braithwaite, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, in accordance with application number 2017-271 dated October 19, 2017, otherwise provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend and readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, a comprehensive zoning district map therein adopted by reference, and which is raised thereto with reference of application number 2017-271 dated 2017. A resolution denying the request of map change filed by Jonah and Henry Nigeli, Jr. from RS-2 single-family dwelling residential zoning district RM-2 multifamily zoning district for lots 3 of St. Clair Estate subdivision, Route St. Clair, Braithwaite, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, in all accordance with application number 2017-272 dated October 19, 2017. An ordinance to amend and amend it to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, a comprehensive zoning ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the comprehensive zoning district map therein adopted by reference, in which phrase thereto with reference to application number 2017-273 dated November 17, 2017. A resolution denying the request map change filed by April Coppell for RS-2 single-family residential zoning district, RM-2 multifamily zoning district, Lot 14 of St. Clair Estate subdivision, Route St. Clair, Braithwaite, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, in all accordance with application number 2017-273 dated 2017. An ordinance to amend and amend it and readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the comprehensive zoning ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the comprehensive zoning district map therein adopted by reference, and which preferred thereto with reference to application number 2017-274, November 17, 2020. The resolution denying the request of map change filed by Dion Degro from RS2 Single Family Residential Zoning District, RM-2 Multifamily Zoning District for Lot 10 to St. Clair Estate Subdivision, Route St. Clair, Braithwaite, Plaquemine Parish, Louisiana, in accordance with application number 2017-274, dated November 17, 2017. An ordinance to amend as amended and readopt section 4 of ordinance number 142, a comprehensive zoning ordinance by Plaquemine Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the comprehensive zoning district map therein adopted by reference, and which is preferred by thereto with reference of application number 2017-275, dated October 19, 2017. A resolution denying the request of map change filed by St. Clair Land LLC, RS-2 Single Family Residential Zoning District to RM-2 Multifamily Zoning District for lots 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 of the St. Clair Estate Subdivision, Route St. Clair, Braithwaite, Plaquemine Parish, Louisiana, in accordance with application number 2017-275, dated October 19, 2017, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. Following up, ordinance to amend the 2018 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, the 25th JDC Division B Juvenile Division Department, otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2018 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget Coroner Department, otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemine Parish government, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemine Parish government, otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan, water line, tile replacement, ED project, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to approve and assign by Claymore Oil and Gas LP and assigned to KEF LLC, an assignee covering 2 oil and gas and mineral leases identified as Plaquemine as Parish Tract 08-1 and the Parish Tract 10-2, authorizing the parish president to execute and approve the consent of the assignment of overriding royalty interest and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance signing that PL Exploration LLC as assigner and Current Energy LLC as signee covering 2 oil and gas and mineral leases identified as Parish Tract 08-1 and the Parish Tract 10-2, and authorize the parish president to execute and approve and consent of the assignment and otherwise to provide respect thereto. The resolution authorizing Plaquemine Parish Community Action Agency to prepare and file an application with the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development on behalf of Plaquemine Parish government for a grant under 49 CFR 5311 formula grant for rural area and or 49 CFR 5339 grant for bus and bus facility program as amended, and to provide public rural transportation to to the residents of Plaquemine Parish and further authorizing Plaquemine Parish President to execute and file with such application and assurance of any and all documents required. Mr. Burke.
I have several. Got to start the new year off right. An ordinance to appropriate funding for a review of water rates and classifications and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance appropriating funding for the West Bank Sewer Project, Oakville to La Receipt, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing and directing the chairman of the Plaquemine Parish Council to enter into an agreement with Danny P. Garrett III, Attorney at Law, LLC, to provide services as special counsel to the Plaquemine Parish Council and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution of the Plaquemine Parish Council addressing the establishment of the policy of the Plaquemine Parish government and directing the carrying out of those policies adopted by the Plaquemine Parish Council and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to prohibit dumping of non-recyclable material at a recycling dumping facility to provide for penalties and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to regulate the hunting, fishing, trapping, and other recreational on public lands owned or controlled by Plaquemine Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all, sir.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes, I have one, sir. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan to elevate Lake Hermitage Road project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
William.
Yes, I have two for Mr. Edgecombe and one for myself. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a donation for the Empire Boat Harbor and Shipyard and to amend the 2018 operating revenue budget in the 5-year capital improvements plan for the security cameras - Empire Boat Harbor Shipyard project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to prohibit guided duck hunt. Did you just introduce that? An ordinance to prohibit guided duck hunting on public lands owned or controlled by Plaquemine Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of property of a portion of the lower half of Lot 5, Champion Citrus Division, Triumph, Plaquemine Parish, Louisiana, into Lots 5B and 5C, Champion Citrus Division, Triumph, Plaquemine Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the plans and plat of survey by Dufran Surveying and Engineering, Inc., dated May 17, 2017, the owner having fulfilled all the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Item 6, ordinance and resolution on the second reading and final passage.
6A1, an ordinance to amend and as amended readopt Section 6, Paragraph M, subsections 1B and 2, and to enact C of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended as not recommended by the Plaquemines Parish Development Board, Resolution Number 18-17, dated October 17, 2017, according to the minutes of its meeting held on October 17, 2017, with reference to application number 2017-263, dated July 27, 2017.
Mr. Burke.
Yeah, I will offer on behalf of Mr. Roussel.
Second by Councilman Juneau. Question from the table?
Yes, I do. I want to verify, Ms. Rose, that this is not going to hinder any construction trailers that are going to come in that need temporary permits along Tidewater Road?
No, ma'am, it will not.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? From the table? Audience? Administration? Machine is open.
Thank you.
Passes 7-0. Next.
6A3, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 02-184 regarding the rules and regulations for the use of fireworks in the parish of Plaquemines, and to establish violations and penalties and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Janot? Second. Question from the table?
Yeah, I just had a question because I was, hold on, let me try to zoom this thing. Yeah. Legal, if, on section 1, for the people who are not, I mean, can we just put, is it necessary to list all of those specific, I mean, because once you get specific like that, you might miss some things or omit some things, and some of them seem kind of outdated. If it just said no person convicted of a felony, period. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this, what do you, well, Peter's gone.
I'm looking at it for you.
Yeah. I mean, you don't think that's a little bit kind of, yeah, just make it broad, no person convicted of a felony.
Well, soliciting is a misdemeanor, so if you...
I know, but how many misdemeanors you want to add in? I mean, it's just...
Look, I mean, I think that's a policy decision. It certainly doesn't bother me if you take that out.
I think it's just archaic. I mean, Shane can opine as well. I think it's... I mean, just kind of look at it. Like keeping a disorderly place. Why is that a...
That's actually a crime.
I know it's a crime. I'm talking about like how deep you want to get into crimes, misdemeanor crimes. So you can't be a prostitute and you can't keep a disorderly place to sell fireworks. I'm just saying, I don't know. It just seems a little specific. That, I think that's actually pretty good.
No, but
That's
I think
pretty
it's,
good.
I don't think
I can't
it's
say it.
terrible.
Any other comments from the table?
Yeah, but
Audience,
it's gonna
scene is
fall
open.
under some-
I'm sorry.
one of those,
Okay, hold on. Comment?
These are some of the ones.
My name
that
is
they
Sonny
probably
Honey.
identify.
Live at 1801 West First Street in Belchase. I would like to ask you guys today if you could support this because we really need something in reference to fireworks. Give an example. July the 4th of this past year, in my yard, in my home, there was trash upon trash upon trash. My truck sat in my driveway, had $350 worth of damage. The roof of my house was totally covered in ash and firework paper. My gutters had paper in them. We picked up paper in my yard and came out of my gutters until October. We're still finding pieces of paper here and there. So I guess my question is, and I would appreciate if, like I said, the council would support this. But under my way of understanding things is that 1801 belongs to me. The property my house is on belongs to me. That's one of my greatest assets. Now, that being said, the property airspace above me belongs to me. So I should be able to say, hey, you can put fireworks in my upper atmosphere if you want, but talk to me first. But I don't think it's right for fireworks to be fired in neighborhoods in the close proximity of all the houses, which is very close now throughout Belchase. Because we're only waiting for an accident to happen. It's going to happen sooner or later. Because people are today really, a lot of them have no respect for your property. They don't care what belongs to you. They think it belongs to them too. They can do what they want. But my problem is, I guess, if any one of you wants to shoot fireworks, shoot fireworks. But if you live next door to me, I think you should maintain your property and keep them on your property. It doesn't come over on me because there again, I have to go pick up your trash. I have to respect your property. I respect everybody's property here. I will not go on any one of your property without asking first. I will not shoot fireworks in your area. Will say, look, do you mind if I shoot fireworks? Because I know the debris is going to land on your property. It's beginning to be a big problem in the parish overall because there was a lot of fireworks shot. There's quite a few stands within in the parish. And it seems like every day there's new stands coming on, and it's more and more being shot. I know in other parishes there is sales, but shooting fireworks, you can't.
So I'm asking this council to support this ordinance, and let's get something on the book. Because, give you an example, again, one more thing and I'll go. That particular night, I mean, we were really having a big problem. I mean, fireworks like it was the Third World War falling out of the sky. So, you know, I took as much as I could take. So my wife goes in and calls the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office shows up. Okay? Sheriff's office guy, the deputy came up my driveway, we stood under my carport and we talked. I asked him, I said, sir, is anything you can do to stop this? He says, no, sir, it isn't. I said, what do you mean it isn't? Nothing you can do to stop them destroying my property and my vehicles? No, it isn't. I said, why not? His answer was, because the parish government has an order on the books which has no penalty and it isn't illegal against shooting fireworks. He says, nothing we can do. So that being said, there again, I wish you guys would support this. We need something done, and with your support, we'll get something done. Thanks for your time.
Mr. Burt?
So, so there's no ordinance on the books right now for fireworks? There's none. So this is brand new.
Not for an
As
enforcement.
far as regulation, there's nothing.
This one brings more regulations and more fines if someone does something illegal.
Who's going to enforce that?
Sheriff's Department. John?
Solve it?
Yes, and I can confirm to the fact of what Mr. Hornier is speaking of. He invited me out to his home sometime early in the year, and I mean I understand exactly what he was experiencing. I mean, his yard was saturated with paper up for fireworks. He had the ash on his truck, and it's just, as he said, it's no penalty. So I would encourage my colleagues to support this ordinance, whereas we can protect individuals like Mr. Hornier. So I will be supporting your legislation, Mr. Juneau. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, I just confer with Mr. Juneau. I would actually like to make an amendment, if possible, Section 1.
What's that, Nick?
Yeah.
If you want to do it, we can vote on it.
Yeah, I just want to amend something. This has nothing to do with the actual meat of the thing. It's just the language. I can't get over this language. Just on lines 37 and legal, please follow along with me on this one just to make sure I'm not omitting anything I shouldn't. Leave in no person convicted of a felony, and then scratch beginning with the comma all the way through the word United States, then start it again. Say no person convicted of a felony may hold, obtain, and hold a valid permit provided herein, nor shall person engage in possession, a sale or offering of the sale of fireworks within the parish of Plaquemines. Just take out all the other stuff. I mean, all the other misdemeanor, like, you know.
That would be all right.
I just have one last question.
Go ahead.
As it relates to these stipulations in here,
We're talking on the amendment?
yeah,
We have an amendment on it.
yeah, I'm talking about the amendment.
All right. Amendment's up. You want to change the amendment?
Is permits going to do background checks on these people?
I mean, that's in, I think, is that in the original ordinance? That's in the original one.
We don't have capability of background checking.
Well, that's what it's basically saying.
I know, but that's in the original ordinance. I'm just taking out the 1940s language.
I'm good with the ordinance. I'm just saying, I mean, you know, how are you going to know if somebody's got a convicted felon?
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, right. I guess you just put it on a questionnaire. If they lie on a questionnaire, they
Well, when the deputy goes, he can get the name and put it on the computer.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just put it on the questionnaire. If they lie on the
Right.
questionnaire and somebody reports them,
Right.
then it's kind of a self-reporting thing.
But I appreciate if we can go ahead with this.
And I would also, there's another amendment on line 59. I know I made some notes. I just want to take out the word or irresponsible persons. I'm just trying to clean up a little bit of kind of strangeness in this thing.
59 on the second page.
I mean, nobody likes strange things. And line 59, I'm not sure who can who can determine if somebody's irresponsible? I don't think we sell many fireworks around here if we had that discretion. So if we just
Well, I think the idea was, on top of intoxicated people, you could have people who appear to be mentally ill, people who appear to be retarded. There could be a number of things that would be kind of no-brainers.
I mean, I don't know how would you articulate that? I agree. That's probably a very old term. But when I read it, when I saw Mr. Juneau's ordinance, to me, it leaves it open for some very different. Do you agree with me, Peter, on this one?
Well, part of this was copied from Jefferson, so, I mean.
Right.
What harm will he do?
I mean, the irresponsible party was just trying to, if let's just say let's just say I'm a fireworks salesman, and I think that this person looks odd, something doesn't seem right. Maybe they're, well,
Just give
I
you
can think of some
additional-
bad things I could probably add to that, but
Right.
I think the idea was just trying to make them have a sense of responsibility. They shouldn't be selling it to people who are clearly just not in the right mind.
No, I would definitely say under the age of 15 and intoxicated. But to leave it to the discretion of the person selling the firework, whether or not you are not responsible, I just don't open a can of worms where
I understand.
we have an issue where somebody comes to buy a firework and I don't like you. I say, you know what? I don't have to sell it to you because you're not responsible. I mean, I'm just, I know I'm in a rabbit hole here, but.
Oh, years ago, I used to have a stand.
Yeah, right.
And I told people, just like that, I'm sorry, I can't sell to you. You don't look responsible. No, I didn't do that.
Look, if legal wants to leave it in, I don't care. I'm done. I just had that one amendment then. If y'all don't want to.
Well, can I just say this? I think the issue is I understand what you're saying, but I think it also gives, like Mr. Juneau said, if I'm standing there and somebody just doesn't seem right, there's something not quite there, maybe they're not intoxicated, maybe they seem high, maybe they seem in some other way impaired.
It's just broad.
It is, but it just protects how shall I say, the merchant who's trying to be responsible, because he's got something to fall back on by saying, look, I saw something that just didn't seem right, and I didn't feel comfortable selling something to them that could get them or somebody else hurt. So, I mean, in a time and age when we're trying to encourage people to be responsible,
Right.
I kind of would like to give the merchants a little bit of empowerment to at least show some good sense.
I think you and I's definition of responsible is clearly different. But anyway.
I just think with that language in place, it would be an additional tool that the person that's selling the firearms would be able to use. I mean, at the time, he may detect something there, but it would be incumbent upon him to try and prove when this guy object to, hey, why would you sell me, you know?
Well, I won't do that amendment then. We'll just go with the first one.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
So I don't see.
Mr. Withaler?
What is it now?
On the amendment, just the first one I
What's the amendment?
read, yeah.
Can I ask one question, though, going back to that? Just on that language, you had mentioned cutting. Did you want to take out the bit about the felony in this state or any other state of the United States? Is that what I understood? I wasn't quite sure where you wanted to end.
No, not felony.
No, it just started with no person convicted of a felony in this state or any other state in the United States may
Okay,
hold,
that's fine.
yeah.
That's fine. I wasn't quite
Yeah.
sure I heard United States. I just want to make
Yeah,
sure
I'm sorry, yeah.
we left that language.
Yeah,
in
the
there.
comma before in on
That's
line
fine.
39. So just take out everything else in between.
So, see, Shane, you can decide.
Bob, you have the amendment?
Go sell some fireworks.
You want to read it, please?
Section 1, number 1 will read, "No person convicted of a felony,"
In this state.
I'm getting to, in this state or any state in the United States may hold, obtain, and hold a valid permit provided herein, nor shall such person engage in the possession for sale and offering for sale of fireworks within the parish of Plaquemines.
Councilman Black offers, seconded by Councilman Juneau. Any question on the amendment from the table? Amendment only. Audience. Machine is open for the amendment only. Passes 7-0. Now we will vote on the ordinance as amended. The machine is open. Passes 7-0. Next, please.
Um, 6C.
Defer.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could I withdraw 6K, please?
6 what there?
K as in kangaroo.
6K is withdrawn. Withdrawn.
Yes. 6D, an ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget Legal Services Department and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Ms. Williams?
Yes, I'd like to offer with the changes being distributed.
Okay.
And the changes are going to read on line 5. We're going to scratch, the parish president and council have reached a negotiation for attorney fees. And we're going to insert, there are outstanding disputed attorney fees. The amount will be $6,435,057. On line 11, we're going to insert, after appropriating, $6,435,057. On line 17, the amendment will be for $6,435,057. With these changes, I offer.
Ms. Williams offers there a second. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Sullivan, second.
This is so fees that we are needing to add back into the 2017 budget for the BP settlement legal fees. This will require a 2/3 vote. I just want to remind my colleagues. And Tommy, you can elaborate if you would like to.
Yes, ma'am. This is the $6 million we spoke about at the 2018 budget hearings. This is going to, the $6,435,000 is the legal fees that were taken out of the initial payment that we received of $15 million. So this money is in dispute, but for right now, so we don't have a budget issue at the end of the year, we need to take this, actually put this in the budget as an expense, the $6,400,000. So that's what we asked, we're asking to do, because we didn't, this money, we didn't collect it. It's being held and it's being disputed. So we need to take it out and put it in as expense, because we didn't collect this money. Anybody understand that?
Any other comments from the table? Audience, machine is open.
This is legal. The legal fees.
Passes 7-0. Next, please.
6G, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan drainage Myrtle Grove subdivision project and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Solvent.
Yes.
You offer?
Yes, I offer for a discussion.
I'll second for discussion.
Ms. Williams, second for discussion on. Go ahead. Mr. Solvent.
Yes, actually, we addressed this line item under the 5-year capital improvement budget and the budget hearing, and this was this is part of our wish list, and this is actually appropriated funding for the Myrtle Grove subdivision to address the flooding area in that subdivision, but it's really going to affect the 2019 budget because of the lack of funding for 2018. It's actually going to try and become a part of the wish list for 2019. So I just wanted to go on record as saying that that this project has not been forgotten. It's just that the funding is preventing us to move forward. And I think I mentioned it was said publicly that I would address this issue at the budget hearing, and I just wanted to be known that we did. Yes. So I'm going to withdraw this item.
Okay. G is withdrawn. H. With the changes that have been passed out.
In ordinance to amend 2007. It's on. In ordinance to amend the 2017 operating revenue and expenditure budgets, various funds, various departments, various line items, and otherwise to provide with respect.
Offer. Is there a second? Williams, second. And discussion from the table?
Yeah, I do.
Councilman Black.
Yeah, I just want to just point out that I think we'll be voting on directors later today, and I would ask that the new directors, who I think may or may not be here, one of them is, the current one, is just to keep on top of the superintendents and let them know to be mindful of when your budget is about to expire and not go and continue to purchase things when you don't have any money, and then we have to come back and do this after all the work we did at the budget hearing to balance the budget, because this affects the rollover, you know. And, I mean, I think it's irresponsible for some superintendents just to go out and spend money, and not even keep a track of what they got without, then we got outstanding invoices, then we get contractors that are mad at us or vendors who we can't pay. So just, that's all I ask. I'm voting for it, but I just appreciate that the directors do that, please.
Any other comments from the table? Audience, machine is open. Pass at 7-0. Next, please.
6I, an ordinance to amend the 2017 five-year capital improvements plan, various projects, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Got some changes. Offer with changes. Okay, we'll withdraw at the request of the Finance Department. Aye. Aye is withdrawn. J is deferred.
6L, an ordinance to rescind, annul, and set aside ordinance number 15-71 adopted on May 28, 2015, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I offer. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? It dies for lack of second. Next item, please.
6N, a resolution supporting the joint access use of the Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base New Orleans runways and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Black.
I offer, sir.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second by Councilman Lepine? Questions from the table?
This is just a mirror of what we did at the port, just to have the council support as opposed to, or in addition to the port's support.
Any other comments from the table? Audience, machine is open. Passes 7-0. Next item.
O, an ordinance to approve the amended civil service pay plan and classification schedule adopted by the Civil Service Commission on August 3, 2017, reallocating the classifications of rescue boat engineer, rescue captain, and marine inspector relief captain, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Black.
Offer.
Is there a second? I'll second.
This is the
Question
same,
from the table?
same thing. It's mirrors what we
Okay.
did at the port. Just the council
Any other
support.
comments? Mr. President?
I'd just like to state that, Councilman Black, I'm glad you put this on, you properly put this on the agenda for the Plaquemines Parish Government and Council meeting. I did this week, though, request similar treatment for the civil service employees of Plaquemines Parish government, particularly with regards to that civil service up the pay scale or review the pay scale.
Yeah, get with maybe Paul or Sandy, the company they use to do an evaluation. They did a pretty good job and did a good analysis, so it's something you might want to talk to them about as well, and figure out how they came up with that particular formula.
Yeah, we had a meeting with one of our representatives from Coleman that does the labor work, and they agreed with us that civil service needs to account for inflation over time.
Okay.
So I sent a email in collaboration therewith.
All right, thanks.
Yes, and I would encourage you, Mr. President, to do just that, because I'm not comfortable with continuing to support increases with the port, and then our manpower is continually struggling and suffering. So, I mean, I wrestle with this a lot, but I don't want to be a stick in the mud. So a lot of times I will support something in with the port just for the purpose of trying to progress the port alone. But I have a hard time dealing with the issue that we are not properly addressing the manpower within the government. So I would encourage that, okay?
Thank you, Ms. Councilwoman Trufant. And also, I specifically put in the email that they focus in, especially with some of these self-generating funds, such as sewage and solid waste, where there's a millage, there's a revenue fund in place, so there's no need for, to fail to do after a decade, fail to adjust for inflation. So, thank you.
Okay. Also, will make a recommendation that we also look at all our employees, the unclassified as well, because we don't want to leave nobody out, and that's being transparent.
Thank you,
with
Chair.
all the people. And I, too, will support that.
Thank you.
All right. Machine is open. Seven zero, it passes. Next item, please.
6P, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, Bell Chase Water Treatment Plant, Ross Water Intake Pump Station Project, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Juneau? Is there a second? Is there a second?
I will second.
Is there a second?
I will second.
I beg your pardon? You did?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Sullivan, second. All right. Mr. Juneau?
Microphone.
I'm sorry. We need this pump to pump the water to the Belchaz plant so we can enlarge the plant so we can get the water pumped all the way to Boothville, as the water plants in Port Sulphur and Boothville are not in service. The one in Port Sulphur is going to be used as a lift station. But we need this pump. And I'm asking you, please, we need it.
Any comments from table? Audience? Machine is open.
She's sleeping.
Pass at 7-0. Next, please.
Thank you.
Q, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, solid waste transfer stations project, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I offer.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Burt.
I have a question, sir.
Question from the table?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Burt?
I would just ask that as this project progresses, this particular project is in my district, Ms. Salvant and Ms. Williams, so I would ask that the administration please keep us in the loop as to how this thing progresses. Thank you.
Other questions from the table? Audience? Machine is open. Next item, please. Pass at 7-0.
R, an ordinance authorizing the parish president or his designee to do all things necessary and proper and settle and compromise the case of DII LLC versus Plaquemines Parish Government 62-764A and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I offer. Ask for a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Juneau. Questions from the table?
Yeah, what is this case?
Legal?
We had a retainage on, I think it was one of the pumping stations in the levee. I sat down with the attorneys for the contractor who had filed suit, and we've got it in a position where I think we can get it settled for the retainages and basically the money that we have on hand, so I won't be asking you for any settlement funds. But I just needed permission to engage in that discussion with them. So that's what I'm looking for. In other words, I'm not asking you for any funds out of this. This is just permission.
I just don't know if are we setting precedent to every time we need you guys to negotiate any settlements, we have to do an ordinance. Is that a new practice?
I'm trying to do it because you asked me to.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking you a question. That's what I'm asking. Is that are we going to set? Basically, are we going to set this precedent now?
I'm trying to. Yes.
Okay.
I like to have things out front. So
Gave you a softball question. You said, yeah.
I understand. Well, I'm just saying I like to have it up front so you understand what I'm asking.
No, I appreciate it.
Okay.
And I mean, this is transparent government. And we're seeing where legal fees are going and what's going. So thank you.
Thank you.
Machine is open. Pass 7-0. Next, please.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Legal Services Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I offer. Ask for a second.
Second.
Ask for a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Burke. Question from the table. Audience, machine is open.
Hopefully those borrow pit cases can get in that ordinance can get resolved, because this is where most of that money is going to. So, all right, in a couple other construction contracts. So, and I appreciate you inviting us to meet with the attorneys involved. It was very
Machine is on the vote.
Thank you.
We're on the vote. Question has been called. We're on the vote.
Question is called?
Been called.
People kind of know.
7-0.
Mr. Henry.
On my time now.
6U, a resolution to authorize and direct the parish president or his designee to locate funding to repair the water lines in Braithwaite and from White Ditch to Phoenix, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
We need to defer this because there's so many blanks here that hadn't been identified. We're going to defer. Unless y'all have, administration have the answers today? The blank? Okay. We'll defer. Next item, please.
V, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a donation for the firefighting department and to amend the firefighting fund 2017 operating revenue and expenditure budgets, firefighting Belle Chase department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I offer. Ask for a second. Second by Councilman Lepine. Question from the table. Audience, machine is open. Passes 7-0. Next item, please.
A resolution appointing Plaquemines Parish members of the Regional Planning Commission and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer with changes.
Right, before the change.
I'm sorry,
offer.
fill in the blanks. Well, I need to fill in the blanks and add a line. So I need to fill in the blank on 23 and 26,
All right.
and I'll be inserting another line item. On line 23, insert Councilmember Williams. Line 26, insert Councilmember Roussel. And on line 28, this will be a new addition. Insert Rob Hopkins as the parish president's civic member, replacing Scott Morris, who resigned his appointment. Term shall begin January 1st, 2018, and end December 31st or until a replacement has been nominated.
What's that name again?
Rob Hopkins. So the RPC has 2 council members and then 2 appointees by the parish president's office. And we're currently vacant 1 right now from the parish president. So with those, I'll offer.
Have been offered and second with the changes. Any question from the table? Seeing is open. Passes 6-1. Next item, please.
6-1. Who said no?
X, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, LRA, Port Suffolk Library project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Solvent. I think that's yours,
Yes,
huh?
I'll be offering with changes. I should have one.
Solvent.
Yes, the changes are on line 8. After we're striking out behind transferring, that we're doing a strike on $3 million, and we are increasing. We adding it $650,000. And on line 13, we are inserting this entire statement. The 5-year capital improvement plan is amended by transferring $2.5 million from the Community Development Block Grant Program, Port Suffolk Library Project, funding year 2017. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. On line 15, make change from 17 to 18, 2018. Yes, yes, make the changes in the year. And with that, I offer.
Any comments from the table? Audience, machine is open.
Before we vote on it, on line 16, we are going from section, the numeric number 3, change that to 2. 2 to 3, I'm sorry. Yeah, I see now, the strike is 2.
Section 3 at the
Yes, okay. Now we can vote.
Machine is open.
Well, except me, huh?
Passes 7-0. Next item, please.
Thanks a lot, well deserved.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to take Y and Z together.
Okay.
6Y, an ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That is for the Director of Administration position. An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto, which is for the Director of Operations position.
I'll offer.
Been offered by Mr. Birch, second by Ms. William and Mr. Juno. Any questions from the table? The audience, machine is open. Yeah. Go ahead.
What this is about, hiring 2 people for these positions?
Yes.
Yes.
This actually lifts the hiring freeze.
Lift the hiring freeze to put them in full
So
salary,
we can have
whatever that is.
3
I think it's
administrators with the power of the government again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's 80, right? It's 80,000. Finance, it was 80. There's budgeted $80,000 for those positions. All right. Scene is open.
Thank you.
7-0. Next item, please.
AA, a resolution confirming the recommendation of the President of the Parish of Plaquemines for the designation of the Director of the Department of Operations pursuant to Article 5, Section 5.01 of the Charter for Local Self-Government for the Parish of Plaquemines and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Burt.
I will offer with the following blanks. Line 14, Don Beschel. And on line 21, same thing, Don Beschel. Off those changes.
Okay, it's all been offered, second by Councilman Lepine. Any questions from the table?
No, I just want to make one acknowledgement. I want to thank Mr. Beschel for calling my office and scheduling a meeting prior to this vote to discuss, his goals and his vision of how he wants to run that department. I think we had a good conversation, so good start, Mr. Beschel, and welcome back to parish government. Thanks.
Mr. Lepine, then Mr. Juneau.
I also will echo those sentiments. I've known the Beschel family for a long time. I've known Don, his brother, his mother. I think it's a perfect fit for this position. I told him that. We had a long conversation. But I also expressed to him my concern about this position if he's allowed to do his job. We had a very candid conversation about that and was very upfront with him and want to hold him accountable to what happens. And Don was very upfront with me, and I appreciate the candidness. I know you're the man for the job. I told you that on the phone. I look forward to working with you, but also mentioned, and we talked in great length about doing your job and being allowed to do your job. So, welcome aboard, and I'm sure I'll see you around the house. So, good to see you.
You mentioned my name. I'm more than happy that you're coming on the team, and I think you'll be a big asset. And I enjoyed the conversation we had, and the most important thing, I said, don't do everything for Mr. Jones. Please help the West Bank. Thank you.
Councilman Burt.
Mr. Beschel, I did not return your phone call. It wasn't intentional. I got tied up. But first of all, thanks for your prior service in the government, sitting as a member of this council. And I support your efforts, and I just ask that you give a fair approach to all facets of government. And we wish you the best. Thank you.
Solvent, come in.
Okay, Mr. Beschel, I didn't get around to returning your call, but my question to you would be, what are you thinking? You were here before, and you want to return to this government? I'm only joking, but anyway, I look forward to working with you. I have a past experience and past history with you as working as an assistant to Burghardt Turner, and you served as a council member. So I'm looking forward to reconnecting.
Thank you.
Okay.
William?
Yes, I too appreciate you reaching out to me. We had a conversation, and I shared my thoughts as far as, your work ethic and things of that nature. I think you are going to be an asset to this administration. As long as you, like Mr. Lepine said, you're able to do your job and you hold people accountable to do their jobs as well. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I would just
wait. This, I knew it. I have to say this. They have reservations about East Bank. I don't know why. I just don't understand that. I wasn't going to make any comments at all. I'm going to say a word. And he turned and looked, East Bank. I just don't get it. Got West Bank. West Bank a rule, Mr. Beschel.
Well, I just want to say thank you, President Cormier, for giving me this opportunity. And God bless you all for all the accolades. I really, really like that. But I'm old school. Plaquemines Parish is Plaquemines Parish. So I serve for everyone, not just for the East Bank or the North End or the South End or anything like that. And I pray that I can make a positive difference in this administration and in the parish, for the citizens of Plaquemines Parish, especially trying to save some of their tax dollars so we could use it in other places. So, thank you very much.
I'm sure you will make a profound difference getting the job done without any reservation whatsoever. With that, I'd like to call for the question.
Wait, Wilmore. You thanking us before the vote?
No, thank you all for the opportunity. How's that? Sounded good to me, though. Thank you very much.
7-0 pass. Next item, please.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I need to revert back to Z and take that separately, sir. I was informed that we cannot vote on ordinances in globo.
I'm sorry? I thought you did take it back.
I did not, sir. So, Ms. Barber, if we could go back to Z and take that one separately.
Take either one step.
An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer.
Offer. Second by Mr. Williams.
Question.
Machine is open. Passes 7-0. Right?
Thank you.
BB.
Yeah, BB.
A resolution confirming the recommendation of the President of the Parish of Plaquemines for the designation of the Director of the Department of Administration pursuant to Article 5, Section 5.01 of the Charter for Local Self-Government for the Parish of Plaquemines and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Burt.
I will offer.
Fill in the blanks.
Before I fill in the blanks, I'll fill in the blanks. Line 14, Jim Peoples.
Jim?
Yes, J-I-M. Line 21. Take 5. Okay. Let me strike that. Line 14, it's James, quotation mark, Jim Peoples. Line 21, James, in quotations, Jim Peoples. And I'll offer with those changes.
Offer. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Williams. Questions from the table?
Yes, I have one question.
Carvin?
Mr. Cormier, I know Mr. Peoples was a previous employee. Will he be able to work as a full-time employee?
Yes, ma'am. He the 2 years with the retirement issue has lapsed, has passed, so there will be no problem there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. H-Combe, then Mr. Burt.
H-Combe,
I'm sorry.
It's getting late, John.
H-Combe on my ears, bugging.
I had the pleasure of working with Mr. Peoples in my first term as internal auditor. I was on the audit committee for 3 years. A good man, a good fit. I'm a little disappointed that he's not here today, so we can congratulate him or talk to him. I don't know what the circumstances were, why he wasn't here. I don't know if you could give me an answer or...
My apologies, Councilman Lapine, but I'll definitely find out. And my apologies for his not being present.
I'm going to vote in support. I don't want to step off the wrong foot. I mean, Mr. Beshel stayed here through the whole meeting. I really wish he would have been here. Thank you.
Burt?
Mr. Cormier, I will also support this legislation, but just, I guess for the council members that may not know Mr. Peoples or the members of the audience, can you just give a brief bio on Mr. Peoples, please?
Yes, and thank you for that question, Councilmember Burt. Mr. Peoples has one of the most impressive resumes I've seen. He's a graduate of Duke University with all sorts of accolades and honors. He is a certified public accountant with the state of Louisiana. He also finished, I think, top 31 in the United States when he took the certification for the public auditing test in the nation. He also has a master's degree in business administration from Tulane University and numerous other accolades. But he's incredibly intellectually gifted individual.
Thank you.
Any other comment? Audience, seat is open.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
CC, an ordinance to amend the 2017 operating revenue budget settlements, BP, and the 5-year capital improvements plan regulatory upgrades, capacity increase, BC WTP project, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Williams,
Yes, I'll offer.
is there a second?
I'll second.
And Ms. Solomon. Questions from the table?
I just want to give a
Go
little,
ahead.
yeah. This is just the exact opposite of what we done earlier. This is funding that we allocated that we did not receive. The $10 million that's being tied up due to the litigation. So we're going to need to remove this out of this project. But once we receive it, this project will go forward. The intent is to refund the project once we receive the $10 million payment, once it's released by the courts.
Any other comment? Audience, seat is open. Passes 6-0. Next item, please.
DD, an ordinance to amend the 2017 general fund operating expenditure budget, hurricanes and tropical storms, Tropical Storm Cindy, 2017 hurricane preparation, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Offer with the following changes. On line 16, fund balance designated for emergency.
Where this is coming from. This is change.
Oh, no. All right.
What you got to offer? You offer?
Yeah, offer with the changes.
I'll second the
Second with Mr. Williams. Councilman Levine, question?
These next three ordinances in a row, I will not be supporting them. The reasons, I have asked the administration to turn over the contract when we went into state emergency. I really never did get them. I got them actually from my counterpart, Charlie Burt. Some of them were signed, some were not signed. So I had some questions about some of these services that we use during Cindy, Harvey, and one of them, and this is just one of them that brought to my attention under Cindy, that we paid almost $23,000 for a 24-hour airboat service, which I don't understand. We have 3 airboats. Why didn't we use in-house people? I don't know what they had to do, but this is just one from Cindy. I got another one from Nate. I got one from Harvey. I got them all lined up. But I will not, I know this is something that Tommy needs to clean up by the end of the year, but I will not be supporting them because I have these questions. Now, do I have an answer for this one?
Thank you, Councilman Lapine. As you know, we had an incredibly active hurricane season in which we had 3 storms that we felt the effects of. I don't have we're in the process. We had a telephone conference yesterday with FEMA. We're in the process of gathering all that paperwork, and we will make that available to you. We still.
I mean, I have some of the paperwork. You don't have all the paperwork. I'm talking about the itemized vendors that we use for each emergency situation we were in. This is just Cindy. This is just a question I have. Is we paid I'm not going to name the vendor, but we paid an airboat company $23,000 for a 24-hour service. Now, if that's true, and we had a 24-hour service at the location, and again, with the levee break, why wouldn't our airboats used? Why wouldn't our employees used? Why would, I can't think it would cost us $23,000 just to use our in-house services.
I do know we did use our in-house airboats. I didn't bring those contracts with you. So I'd be more than glad to look that up and get you the exact answer. But I know for a fact that Scott Roussel was driving one of our big airboat and delivering sandbags behind Myrtle Grove when we were sandbagging that ring levee. And then we had airboats checking levees. But I'm sorry, I'd have to look up that information.
Okay, and that is my concern today. Like, I will not be supporting any of these. Huh? I won't be supporting any of these three because I have another one. So, but I'll get to the other ones when we get to the other one. So that's all I have.
Yeah, I'm going to support this only because I think we have to get it cleaned up for finance. But I think a lot of the uncertainties would probably have not be here today if we would have had pre-positioned emergency contracts in place. So what this has done, it's painted a perception that contracts were just handed out on just to whoever. But having pre-positioned emergency contracts in place with negotiated rates, we wouldn't probably be having this conversation. So I would encourage you guys to put those out well in advance of hurricane season, not during hurricane season. Thank you.
So
Anybody else at the table?
My question would be, who would
Solvent?
select the pre-positioned contract?
It goes out for public bid, which it did. I'm not throwing nobody into the bus, but pre-positioned emergency contract sat on the EOC desk for over 3 months.
Any other comments from the table?
Yeah, I'm going to support it. I'm going to support it as well, just to get the budget cleared up. But I want to make certain. I want Danny to kind of pay attention to this comment. Is that I'm voting for the appropriation of the $98,950 based on just a generalization of funds that need to be paid during a state of emergency. I'm not voting on the specifics of the contracts. I have not seen all of those contracts. So if some of these contracts were done incorrectly or whatever, that's not what I'm voting on. I'm voting on on just the overall budget for emergency fund. That's it.
Any other comments from the table? Audience?
Yes, my question. These funds are reimbursable, right? If they're done on the emergency,
If you don't meet the threshold, they're not. And some of this, we did not meet the threshold of expenditures. So it's not all reimbursable.
I think it's not only us, it's the state as well, I think. Some of it. Based on
Mr. Cormier?
Yes, if I may, for Hurricanes Nate and Hurricanes Harvey, FEMA has given the preliminary blessing of approval. Tropical Storm Cindy, Councilmember Williams is correct. That didn't meet the threshold.
Because, the point I'm trying to get to is that, you have to allow the CEO of the parish to operate the parish. And, but I understand that we need to sit here and make sure that he stay within the perimeter of doing without violating the law. But at the same token, I'm not going to sit here and bird dog, because a certain person didn't get the contract. I'm not here to bird dog. That's not my job. Okay? So I just wanted to just make that statement.
Any other comments from the table? Audience? It is open. Passes 6-1. Next item, please.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 five-year capital improvements plan for the preparation and recovery efforts due to Hurricane Harvey and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Offer with the following changes. Thank you. On line 8, After the word of, enter $444,930. On line 9, after Harvey, after comma, Harvey, comma, add is $333,700. On line 10, after and, $111,230. And after general fund scratch, unreserved, undesignated fund balance, designated, add, and at the end of that line, beginning line 11, and right, designated for emergency. On line 19, scratch unreserved, undesignated, and after balance fund designated for emergency. That's it. That's the change. Now, I offer with those changes. Just second. Second by Mr. Juneau. Questions from the table? Audience, machine is open. Passes 6-1. Next, please.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 five-year capital improvements plan for preparation and recovery efforts due to Hurricane Nate and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Offer with changes. On line 8, amount of, put 20, after of, 20,960. On line 9, after Hurricane Nate, comma, that 15,720. After, on line 10, after parentheses FEMA and 5,240. And after general fund, scratch out unreserved, undesignated, and the fund balance designated up for emergency. On line 16, after appropriating, at 20,960. On line 17, after funding source, put 15,720. On line 18, FEMA parentheses and enter 240. And say general fund, scratch out unreserved, undesignated, and fund balance designated for emergency. Add that after fund balance. With those changes, I offer. Is there a second? Is that seconded by Councilman Juneau? Question from the table.
John.
Mr. Lepine.
Administration or Mr. Comey or legal, whoever can answer this. I also have two contracts here for two different generators and two different prices. I have one company that we got a generator from, a 350 kW generator for $2,000. One company, we got a generator that's 250 kW for $8,000. So how are we paying more for a smaller generator than a bigger one? In two different vendors.
Oh, that's one. Oh, looking at Ian.
The way this happened, Councilman Lepine, is there was a great deal of concern in the probably middle morning on the Saturday of that storm. And I was asked to find somebody to do this. I asked the president who to call. I called somebody, the company you're referencing, because everybody else was out of generators. And so we called him. He said he could probably get it and bring it to us ASAP, which is what Brenda and the EOC told us we needed. So unfortunately, after the fact, we realized that he contracted with one of the people who we could have called from out of the jurisdiction and got it for a cheaper price. So it was just one of those things that didn't work out as well as it could have. And it's as simple as that.
Well, I hope that you're correct, but I was there too. And I know the generator was used for the Y, for backup, in case we had to put people there, and I understand. But we're paying more for a less generator. So I'm concerned that we're not reading contracts, that we're just handing out contracts and stuff and giving people. Hell, we could have got two bigger ones for a cheaper price of one smaller one. So that's my concern. And what do we have in-house? I'm not going to beat this case to death, but this is why I'm voting no. I have some concerns about some of these invoices. So I'm not going to beat it to death. We're just going to move on. So.
Mr. Vidal?
Should put a convenience clause in those contracts.
Mr.
Vidal?
Gotcha.
Okay.
Ms. Williams?
I would like to reiterate what Mr. Burt said earlier. Put these contracts into place prior to hurricane season in the event that you need them, and you will not have these issues. I strongly encourage y'all to do that.
Mr. Burt?
Yeah, I'll just echo that again. I don't want to micromanage any of those emergency functions, but I did happen to look at that particular invoice that Mr. Lapine mentioned, and I don't dispute the charges for the generator. The only problem I had on that invoice, looking at it, was that the guy that actually got the generator billed us 6 hours at $150 an hour, and it cost us $900 extra just by lining up a generator. So I would just actually be very cautious with that next time we go around. Thank you.
Any other comments? Machine is open. Passes 6-1. Next item, please.
GG, an ordinance to amend the 2017 operating revenue budget firefighting fund ambulances department and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offer. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? It dies for lack of a second. Next, please. Next item. No, next item. Question was called 3 times. Nobody seconded it. It's closed. All right. Next, please. You can actually see. You voted on it? How can you reconsider your vote when you didn't vote? Oh, I'm just a question, yes. Huh? I'm sorry. You what? Sir, you have this in 2 weeks. No, this legislation. You just ain't got this legislation today. Well, what's the problem? You want a second? I said you want a second? All right. We'll reconsider the vote. I mean, this is with a bird. All right. It has been seconded by Councilman Black. Any questions from the table?
Yes. Mr. This is because we overestimated, and we were still waiting for some collections, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Exactly right.
And we discussed this at the budget hearing?
Right, we discussed
And
it,
it's-
but this is
and it's-
2017?
Yeah, and it's been accounted for as far as what we did in the budget hearing has accounted for that?
Yes, this is cleaning up
Yeah, right.
2017. Right.
All right, thank you. That's all.
We already knew that. That's why we did it. That's why I put it on the table. You already knew that. Machine is open. Yeah, you knew that. You just want to create a mess.
John, you need to vote.
You have a question?
No.
You need a vote, she said.
Who we need to vote? I know. Question didn't call. 7-0. I have been called. Next item, please.
HH, an ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I offer. Is there a second? Is there a second, Councilman Black? Is there a second, Councilman Black?
For discussion, I'll second.
Is discussion, okay, under discussion, Mr. Bright seconds. All right. It's on the table for discussion.
Is this a funded vacant, is this the person that retired?
Yes,
This is, okay.
Yes, sir. That's my belief.
I think it's a position that you're going to need to have. Mr. Burt, if I was you, I would reconsider about getting the vote. Yeah, getting the vote on that because y'all have a lot of these pump stations over there. Y'all want to make sure we get those things running, keep them running. So, Mr. Burt, you change it to a vote?
Yeah, I'll change it to
I appreciate that.
I'll second it.
And I'm sure your colleagues and your people up in Belgians appreciate that. Any other comments from the table? Audience, machine is open. Seven zero. You're on the roll. Next item, please.
7A, introduction of resolutions wherein a suspension is being sought. Number 1.
Purcell is not here.
Yeah, I will.
A resolution of the Plaquemines Parish Council addressing the establishment of the policy of Plaquemines Parish government and directing the carrying out of the policies adopted by the Plaquemines Parish Council.
I'll offer the suspension.
Been offered by Councilman Burke, second by Councilman Lady Williams. Questions from the table? Any questions from the table? Audience? Machine is open.
Yeah.
Hold on.
This is for suspension only, yeah.
Yeah, what,
Look.
what's the policies? I was just trying to see what policies.
No, this is coming up for seeking a suspension. It's coming back up for a vote. Just hold tight.
I have a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Can we move forward with it without it being posted 24 hours? Even with the suspension of rules?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as it's not an ordinance. Unless you know something else as far as Robert Rules of Order.
Inquiring.
I'm not sure. Attorney? Your opinion.
It's not an open meetings issue because it was on the agenda that was posted. The issue is the council procedure is that it would lie over. So what they're voting on is suspending the council procedure.
Machine is open. Passes 7-0. Suspension only has passed. Councilman Black, or you want to read it again? Go ahead.
A resolution of the Plaquemines Parish Council addressing the establishment of the policy of Plaquemines Parish government and directing the carrying out of the policies adopted by the Plaquemines Parish Council.
I'll offer on behalf of Mr. Roussel.
Second by Mr. Offered by Councilman Byrd and second by Councilman Williams. Question from the table?
We're just trying to find out sitting here what policies they're talking about here. I don't have no resolution, so I'm just
I'll defer to our council attorney.
I'm sorry?
I'm going to defer that question to our council attorney.
Yeah. There were a number of resolutions and one ordinance that established the office locations for various departments.
The what?
There were the ordinances, the ordinance and the various resolutions listed, each dealt with assigning office space to various parish agencies and departments.
Okay.
And this resolution simply addresses each of those.
That don't have nothing to do with the parish president moving to, that's not in that policy,
Yes.
right? That's a different issue?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are two of them pertain to the parish president. I mean, I don't have the whole list. One applies to the Department of Civil Service, one applies to the Recreation Department, and I think there's, and then there's one, I think it applies to the Legal Department. I'd have to look at the individual ones, but these are resolutions that have already been adopted by the council. It's just a further council resolution with regard to those prior adopted ordinances and resolutions.
But the parish president moving, that's in litigation right now, right?
It's currently the subject of and actually all of them are currently the subject of a mandamus.
Okay.
Any other questions from the table? Audience, machine is open. Passes 6-1. Next item, please.
7A2, a resolution authorizing and directing the parish president to investigate and find an immediate solution to the recent event wherein Plaquemines Parish EMS workers refused to board a PPSO boat to go to Port Eads in order to provide medical services to an injured party and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'd like to offer,
I'll second.
Councilman Black. Okay, great. You in favor, that's good. What this is a problem that,
Suspension.
oh, I'm sorry, suspension. Voting on the suspension to take this item up. Suspension only.
No, it's on it. Oh, you got to get on those seconds. I'll tell you.
The suspension passes 7-0.
A resolution authorizing and directing the parish president to investigate and find an immediate solution to the recent event wherein Plaquemines Parish EMS workers refused to board a PPSO boat to go to Port Eads in order to provide medical services to an injured party and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'd like to offer this under discussion at this time, if I get a second.
A second.
Second, okay. Councilman Black has second, and Mr. Juneau. Concern is that it has been reported to me, and if anybody else heard it, by the sheriff department that they had something happen at Port East, and they had went to retrieve a EMS to come on the airboat or boat that they were running, and the EMS department refused to get on the airboat to go out to Port East and provide medical attention to the person that was supposedly injured. Now, all the other ramifications, I don't know that's involved, but I would like for the president to look into it and try to find out exactly what happened, and if that did take place, that you make sure that we can make sure that those the people that we need to provide service to receive the service. And if there's something wrong with the sheriff boats, then we need to let them know that they can't transport our emergency people out there. But if there's nothing wrong, then we need to notify our ambulance department, EMS department, that they have to provide the service whenever it's requested, especially when there's an emergency, to possibly save someone's life. That's what the main concern. Councilman Black?
Yeah, and not just in this instance with PPSO, but we heard testimony from Donald Durr of the port, who said that that EMS personnel won't get on the Port Authority vessels. They actually won't do it at all to respond to those types of things.
Well, I never was aware of that.
Yeah, well,
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, they mentioned at the port budget meeting.
All right.
So that's another instance too. And
Yeah, what you have is you have the tail wagging the dog. That's basically what you have. You know, you need to get some directive, and someone needs to have to answer to a chain of command. But it appears to me, because there's an ongoing situation where folks are doing just what they please. And I think that this government, or Mr. Cormier, the administration, should take some, leadership in this area. And and every time I hear something of this sort, it's never any type of reprimand. It's like it just fall on deaf ear, and then it keep reoccurring. So I mean, it's until somebody, is held accountable for something, it's going to continue to happen.
And thank you, Councilwoman Trufant. We're prohibited from discussing personnel issues, but there was an incident at a football game in which the chief did take remediative action. So we will investigate.
yeah, let's.
Okay, you ready?
You want to go with this, or you want to do this? Because
Well,
you brought it up, and I mean, this has been boiling for a while.
Yes. And I'm going to, where do I start? In regards to Mr. Cormier's comment regarding the football game, there was an injured player from the opposing team. I was present at the game. There was an injured player on the opposing team, and the school board hires a Acadian ambulance to be on site for the games. LHSAA requires an ambulance to be on site for the duration of the game. The ambulance is not to leave. If the ambulance leaves, the game has to be shut down. The kid needed to be transported. They called PPEMS to transport the child. PPEMS got there, refused to transport. Mr. Plummer was on the scene with the Sheriff's Department. He contacted Mr. Robichaux. Mr. Robichaux was at that time, under my understanding, on the phone with the EMS personnel and instructed them to transport. They refused to transport. They refused a direct order from their supervisor. So at that point, in my opinion, that's grounds for termination.
But
Or some kind, but they're still employed.
Thank you.
And so then I wasn't aware that Mr. Cormier was at the game, got him involved in the discussion, but still, like I said, action wasn't taken because the employee is still employed. I don't know if he was suspended. I didn't receive any kind of follow-up other than I'm going to look into it. So that's a prime example of, and I contacted another EMS personnel who advised me that there's no way possible that that driver should have refused to transport that patient. So that's the situation there. But this is an ongoing situation with certain EMS employees. It's not all, but certain EMS employees that are disobeying direct orders and not doing their job, nor are they being held accountable for the job they were hired to do. That's the issue throughout this government.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I may respond?
Yes.
Yes. And Councilwoman Williams, that's where, as I just stated, Chief Roy and I both investigated this matter. As you noted, I arrived at that football game. I arrived late, and the Acadian ambulance had already left with the child. So I arrived after that incident had occurred. But Chief Roy and I did speak, and without breaking any rules about discussing personnel individually, I authorize corrective action to be taken. And so Chief Roy would have the details, and in private probably we'll share them with
Right,
you.
but was corrective action taken? That's
Yes,
the question.
yes,
It was. Okay.
And I agreed with Chief Roy on the
Okay.
action that was taken.
Because Chief Robichaux did share with me that he's tried to take action before and wasn't allowed to. So I'd like to get that out there as well.
Councilman Black?
Yeah, just one quick thing, and Mr. President, I thank you for taking corrective action on that because it was definitely warranted, like Ms. Williams said. I just want to reiterate this point that I've made numerous times, and I'm glad you're here because, like Ms. Sullivan just said, whether people like it or not, this council voted, and EMS is under fire, and it's one consolidated department, and Roy Robichaux is the chief. He is the boss of both EMS and fire.
Yeah.
And then Director Giles is his boss. President Cormier is obviously his boss. So for people to still fight that hierarchy or a chain of command is just absurd. And it has cost us a lot of man hours, a lot of stress, a lot of issues amongst the council, amongst the administration, to get this merger to where it needs to be. So I would just urge you to talk to your colleagues who are EMTs, paramedics, first responders, et cetera, and recognize that, well, if you like him or not, Roy Robichaux is the chief and he is the boss. That's all I have to say with that.
Can I comment on it?
Yeah, wait, text. Anybody else at the table?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, football incident. I don't know the conversation after. I don't know what was done after. Our standard operating procedure was for us to transport if we were called. There are issues with it as far as the law that I know of, that I can't find it in there, that the game has to shut down, that they're mandated to stay. There is a problem with when an incident happens at the football field, which if it's a possible long bone, two long bone breaks, it's a trauma criteria. It should have been transported immediately, not wait for a unit. We had this issue before. We did show up. We did transport. No, this time we didn't transport. The last time we did. Our standard operating procedure under Robin Brewer was to transport. Now, as far as looking at the law and all that stuff, that should be done afterwards. They should have transported, in my opinion, because that was my area, that was my operating procedures. Okay, checking in with Roy, I think, is unfair because he doesn't know every minute detail of everything, but then he made the right call from what I understand, but I wasn't on the phone. If he said transport, you transport. Okay. The boating incident, that from what I understand, the most recent one, medics did not go on a boat.
volunteer firemen went onto a boat. Medics were never called to go on the boat. Medics were called that a patient is coming in by boat. We were never contacted. I talked to the medics today. They were never told that they needed to go out on a boat of any kind. We are covered by insurance on the Port Authority boats and Coast Guard boats. We have always been told don't go on private boats, don't go on commercial boats, what have you. I've gone on many of them. My patient's on a boat. I've been on 4 pokey boats. I've been on sports boats. My patient's there. I'm going. But this medic was never contacted. The decision was made between dispatch and the superintendent. And they were just told a patient's coming in by boat. They had no idea. 2 weeks prior, might be 2.5 weeks ago now, we had an incident in the further up part of the parish, not Belle Chase, but a little further up. Medic went on a private boat to go get their patient. But they were informed that there was a patient there in need. They went with fire. This most recent one, the medic was never told. They were just told a patient is coming in by boat. So the medics themselves did not refuse. The decision was not even made to tell them. So that's what I know about it. So don't blame us for not going on a boat, whether it be PPS. We're allowed on PPSO, Port Authority, and Coast Guard, and our insurance covers. But when they're not asked to go on the boat, they're just told a boat's coming in, and the boat came in with 2 volunteer firemen.
That's one of the reasons why it says investigate.
Yeah,
There's no
and
accusing
that's fair.
such a thing.
It's fair to
but
check into it.
Once things has been reported.
But EMS did not refuse. I'm sorry.
Once it has been reported, then we come up with the thing to ask the president to investigate, find out exactly what happens. Then he could, take care of the steps that need to be taken care of to prevent it, if it happened, from not happening again. And if it didn't, then we need to deal with the one that made the claim. And some of the people made the claim was with the PSO. Okay?
Yes.
So before we call anything out to your department, we get with him to do the investigation of it.
Right, because this was stated that EMS refused. But
that's right.
EMS administration might have refused, but the medics themselves did not refuse because they were never informed to go. They were just told a patient's coming in by boat.
Okay, with that in mind, Mr. Black, we'll move to adopt. Yeah. Adoption. Great. Okay, it has been moved for second for adoption. Any questions from the table? Any more questions from the audience? Machine is go ahead.
I was just sitting here trying to understand something. And I heard the lady say that the person didn't refuse. But I'm trying to understand, because she said something about insurance and can't get in. But was that a share boat that they were supposed to be getting on?
I think so on that part.
So I'm saying, so the Plaquemine Parish, our Plaquemine Parish medical person can't get on the share boat? I'm just trying to understand that.
She said they can.
Huh?
They can.
They can? Oh, okay.
Yeah, she said they can. Yeah. Sheet is open. Passes 7-0. Next item, please.
District 1 update.
Well, let's see, update, that's me. I'm going to take off the East Bank water line, F, we're going to withdraw F. We can't leave that in. And also defer H, but I don't see those people here. District 1. Just like we talked earlier about the water line, it's very important that we do whatever steps that we can take, or implement any step as quickly as possible to provide that water line repair on the northern end of Braithwaite, because it's in terrible condition and it's steady breaking. And we cannot apply, just as we stated earlier, the over 55 pounds of pressure. And then we're also from White Dish to Phoenix, we have asbestos water line. That's very cancerous stuff. That needs to be removed. I got a piece of asbestos pipe in there. We need to take that out. So I'm asking my colleague to be very cognizant of that, and those are health issues that we need to address. The other thing, I want to take a privilege as chairman today to say how well it was this year. Sometime it was rough, raggedy. It was fighting wars, fighting wars, about to fight World War II. You know, we was going out racking, all kind of stuff in there sometimes. But I think at the end of the day, we would still respect each other, no matter what. Even though we have different opinions, and that's what life is all about. We all are not perfect. We all have different opinions on issues, and we stick to it and we hang with it. And win, lose, or draw, we come back the following week as another unit and to deal with the issues of Blackman Parish. And I have seen a lot of growth in that with my colleagues. The only thing I'm concerned is that we can get a little more unified throughout the government part of it. And that's with the administration. They can unify with us, or we can unify with them to make it a more pleasing environment to work, pleasing environment to live, and most importantly, provide services that need to be provided over the years. And I know that we came in a very difficult way. We've been trying to balance a budget for the last, 3 years. Every year we have to cut millions and millions of dollars. We just don't have the surplus, and I think we have a lot of wisdom on this council and visioning. Sometimes we don't go the way we should, but sometimes we do. That's my opinion, of course. But all in all, I just want to say that I respect everybody on this council, and I no longer will have to do with a lot of legislation. So my attitude will change in next year. I will become aggressive. I will not entertain any insubordinate ordinances or resolution to put before this body. I will reject and tell them I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. And that's one of the flaws with the chair. You try to be compassionate to deal with everybody's requests. So that won't happen. And okay. Then also I would like to thank the chairs. I mean the secretaries, especially on the northern end, especially council secretaries being so supportive of getting things done for me. They're very pleased to work with, very professional. I don't ever think we had an argument. That's something wrong with me. We never had an argument. But that's how smooth they are. They're very calm. They got my number. And they're really respectable people, and I think their job is their heart is in the right place, and also their job is professional people. And also the council members, Secretary of the Northern End, have a lot of respect as well. Go in, no problem. Even though we council may have a humbug or something like disagreement, but this is polite as they want to be. Albert Sullivan, Secretary, Administrative Assistant as well, very, very, very polite and very respectable. I'm sorry that I didn't, and Mr. Acecombe, I haven't met Mr. Williams, Secretary, Administrative Assistant on the lower end, and but I dealt with Mr. Acecombe, Secretary, right down in Port South. Franny, I know Franny from way back when too. Franny is Franny, and she's all right, you know. And but I just want to say thank all of you for the opportunity to serve as the chair. And it's been a hard time, really has. It has been. But I think I stuck by what I had to do. I stuck with the principle of it, and I try to be as fair as possible. And I'm not seeking anything else right now. So just let you know, don't count me out. But I will be knocking on some doors and be aggressive of dealing with the legislation and supporting Plaquemine Parish government. Mr. President, I want to thank you and your administration during the course, even though you gave me a lot of legislation to introduce, a lot of headaches. But it was in the best interest of the Plaquemine Parish from your standpoint. I never rejected anything that you presented, and I went forward with it. And that's the way I felt as being the chair, that somebody had to do something at the request of the administration. And I did that, and I did that for anybody else as being the chairperson. I just felt that it becomes upon us as being leaders that we do that, whether we agree or disagree, because we can introduce it, not vote. We can introduce it, to get the second. And many times we didn't get second. There was no problem, because I already knew he wasn't going to be second. But I did what I had to do, as being that person of a leadership role that you have to pursue. So with that said in mind, I want to thank everybody in the audience, y'all committed people out front. Thank y'all very much for being through the times that I've been here at the seat. and continue coming and voice your opinion. We hear you. They may not think we don't hear you, but we hear you. We hear you. So with that in mind, Chair, council members, and new chair lady, welcome to being chair. I wish you the best of it, and I want to thank all y'all for y'all support throughout this year. Now, Mr. Burt.
Mr. John, I would like to thank you for your service as being the chairman for the 2017 year. Like I told Councilmember Black, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of patience to chair a committee or a group as a council. So thank you for your service. And I'd like to just take this time to wish you, your family, as well as everyone in here, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And look forward to a fun and exciting 2018.
Mr. Bodolmy, thank you for your year as a chairman. You had a tough act to follow. But thank you for,
amen, Kurt.
Thank you for leading the way with all the challenges. Nicole, welcome to the hot seat. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you. And for the people out there and my colleagues, I would like to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And administration also, thank you, guys.
Yeah, John, I have to say, man, it has been a pleasure having you as a chairman. We've had some good times, some laughs, and we had a couple of arguments here and there. But nevertheless, you were always fair. You know, you accepted phone calls, you called everybody, you called my office, and you know, never let anything get in the way of personal relationships. And so I appreciate that. It means a lot to your character. So thanks for that. I was hoping that at least a portion of Highway 15 would get restriped this year, but while you were chairman. So I look forward to that one day, and the continued ordinances that keep on getting deferred. But one day, John.
One day.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And I appreciate you keeping my seat warm for me. And so I really appreciate that. When I sit back and I might have some bull black attitude to be getting stuff done, be aggressive.
Ms. Williams, you don't mind if I go right now?
No, you can. That's fine.
Because, you know, Mr. Ptolemy, you did an excellent job, but I'm really afraid for you to go back to that seat right there. I'm hoping that some of that stuff don't run off on you. That happened in that chair right there. For you to be able to be the president at the time, you know, because Mr. Black is a hard person to deal with, and you did a good job with him, you know. But sincerely, as the East Bank resident, I mean, I want to thank you for showing what it is to lead, and you did it in a good way. And I hope that Ms. Williams followed that footstep, because I've seen this council from go to 5 to 9. And I've noticed people who were once council members become parish president. I've seen people who were council members run for parish president. And I think to be the kind of president, parish president, is the kind of person you are as a councilman. You can't be a parish president for all the people when as a council member you're not for all the people. So I just hope that that the example that you set, Ms. Cole, Ms. Williams, that you continue to follow that example and be a fair chairman, you know, chairwoman for everybody, and do that. And I just say that, Mr. Black, you know, to you, no offense in terms of joking, but I just hope that you do a good job. I haven't been at council meeting a long time, but I saw some things today at the council, you know, give me some hope. Especially you, Mr. Cormier, to hear you admit you was wrong. I heard that several times and apologize, and it takes encouragement to do that. And I just hope other council members will follow your thing to admit when they're wrong and to say, I'm sorry and I apologize. So I heard you say that twice today. That gave me a lot of encouragement, you know, just to hear you say that. And I just hope other people follow that lead, because the parish that stay now, we need unity. We don't need nitpicking and stuff. I hope that some of the stuff could take place. You know, Rep. George is on the school board. I see school board members meet in advance and discuss everything. So when they come together, they got a united front together. You have too many days where you all can meet during the week to iron out stuff to get here, because from where we're sitting at, you can see that little nickel and diamond. You know, you trying to impress yourself, but for us, we see this stuff don't even make no sense. You know, because there's a so the little cliques and all that. I hope that as the new year comes, that all of us do a really searching, because the Plaquemine Parish is a great parish. We need great leaders. We need unity, because parish employees hurt like I've never seen them hurt in the history of this parish. We got parish people on medication and all kind of stuff because they hurt. And I heard Councilwoman Audrey say something as it relates. If we put the same energy that we put in the Port Authority into parish government, it would be a great government, because people are hurting. They're crying. People getting divorced. They're really hurting. And this body have a lot to do with the hurt of people. So I hope as you reflect over the year that you come back next year with unity and get past differences with each other and represent the whole parish government. Again, I want to commend this council. Look forward to a new year, a new start. And so I hope at the beginning of next year that this parish will be working close as a unified body. I heard Mr. Black several times making comments, you know, thanking people stuff. That's commendable. So I was glad to see that, because for a minute, you know, I said, Lord, there's no hope for Black, you know. So I saw a lot of stuff today that make me feel good that I haven't seen in a long time. So I hope that will continue next year. Ms. Williams, I hope you're the best, and hope while you home over this holiday, really search yourself and understand that you're going to be, you have a serious task. Some people are going to try to get you to go both ways, but stay in the middle and represent all of us.
Councilman Zeno?
Yeah. Go ahead, I'll wait you, let you.
That's out of state.
Okay. Again, I have to also say thank you, Joan. It's been an interesting year. You've done a good job, and I'm sorry we couldn't do everything for you on the East Bank, but we're going to try to help you next year. I promise you that. We're going to try to get some money for you, and we, like you said, we're going to quit deferring and start getting you something. But I also want to wish everybody in my district and all through the parish a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And don't forget, keep God in your Christmas. Thank you.
Ms. Williams?
Yes, I just would like to thank you for your service, Mr. Bartholomew. You worked with everyone. You tried to bring unity. And that's some big shoes that I have to follow. But and I would like to thank my colleagues for having the confidence in me to be able to sit in that seat. It is my intent to bring unity on this council. I think that we all should represent the entire parish, not just our individual districts. And I think we have a good core group of people here that can do that, and we're working towards that. We're going to, have our disagreements, but we can always, agree to disagree and disagree to agree. And it is my intent to, as the council chair next year, to try to move this parish forward in an efficient and effective manner and try to bring as much unity as we can for the betterment of the parish. So, and I thank y'all, and I look forward to a 2018 positive year, and I wish everyone happy holidays.
Chairman Bartholomew.
Mr. Bartholomew, I share the sentiments of my colleagues. It didn't take me to come to this council to realize that you were a man of integrity. I've known you for many years. I worked alongside you as principal at Phoenix High School, and I've always respected you. You've always been a man of integrity. You've been fair. You've proven yourself on many levels. If you can do something with that phone, I think you would. So Nicole, we want you to not to take that part of John, with having his phone ring every 15 minutes. But I've enjoyed working with you, John, and you've been you've actually been a role model me, I know as a leader on this council. And I appreciate you, and I would like to extend a real thank you to Mr. Bartholomew, and I'm looking forward to working with a female. We're going to have a female. I've always been a big supporter of ladies in leadership. And you know, Nicole, so you're going to be, as you said earlier, you're filling a big shoe, but you're going to be representing me. So I will have you back, okay? You know, among men, we have to, right? You know, the guy's going to be to that side, but we're gonna represent. But anyway, look forward to working with you next year.
Charlie,
Thank
have
you.
any questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I want to thank you. You're a true statesman of the East Bank and of Plaquemines Parish. And as you noted, you know, and the public sees sometimes, it's easy to govern when the money's flowing. You know, it's just like running a household. When the money's coming and it's flowing, it's easy to things go along, get along. You know, you managed this ship, and everyone in this council and administration, you know, times are tight right now. And so that's when, you know, and the public just sees one side, and they don't see the backside when we're joking around and you know, having eating together or drinking or talking together. So, but you have been a statesman, and it's been a pleasure working with you. And I look forward to working with future Chairwoman Nicole Williams. And Merry Christmas to you all, and also to everyone in Plaquemines and elsewhere.
Next item, please.
District 2 update, Councilmember Black. Discussion regarding the East Bank Water Line project, Councilmember Bartholomew.
We withdrew that.
Oh. G. H. Discussion by Aretha Etienne.
That's deferred. They're not here.
I. Discussion regarding Venture Global's request for a letter of support for their permit application to the USACE. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Deferred. That was at the request of Mr. Brazell.
You can speak on it?
Deferred.
I can speak on it.
Huh?
I can.
Excuse me. All right, Charlie wants to talk.
Yeah, I'll just give everybody a brief. The Corps of Engineers actually requested that letter. They were requesting a letter of support from the levee district to support the 408 permit that was requested as part of the Port Venture Global project. So it was just a letter of support.
The letter was already sent. I signed the letter already, but each council member sent a notice of the request before it was done. That's how I kind of inform my colleagues of what's going on. Next item, please.
Number 8, approval of the minutes from the November 9, 2017 regular meeting, the November 29, 2017 special meeting, and the 2018 budget hearings held on November 27 through the 29th, 2017.
Offered by Councilman Black, seconded by Councilman Lepine. Question from the table. The machine is open. Have been motioned by Byrd, seconded by Councilman Black to adjourn and wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a very prosperous New Year. The machine is open. See you tomorrow.